Hey-oh, there's Peter rocking out. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the, what's this called? Krisis, OmniDog, and Freddie jamming on comics. We were going to
Very
call
short.
it Tuesday of the month, but now it's like the third Thursday of the month by the time we get things going. So, how are you guys doing? We got Krisis Dog, Krisis. How are you both doing?
Doing good. How's Peter? I want to know how Peter's doing.
You know, life is it's an odyssey. It's a journey. You write a new chapter every day.
That's profound.
Yeah.
How did it go today with your chapter? Where are you in your chapter? Is it like noon?
Well, you know, people think of books as like one big thing, like, oh, I love that book. But let's be honest, much like reading comics, sometimes there's one really crappy chapter that you kind of rush through, or you're like, I'll just eat dinner while I read that one. That might be my day today, but you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Now I'm here.
That's the important part. And the other important part is that we're already getting jammed up. Alex is saying, still haven't forgotten you guys prefer Blur to Oasis.
You know, I said I would re-listen to the Oasis albums, and I have not had a chance to yet. I'll give them one fresh chance with my elderly ears. Maybe now that I can't hear all the high end, it'll sound better to me.
I love that was a month ago, and Alex is still hanging on to it. Halo Tangle, hello.
Hello.
See you, Halo. Bill, hello from South Wales. Now, is that like South Wales, Australia, or South Wales, Wales, the country?
Well, Australia would be New South Wales.
New South Wales would be Australia. Yeah. Okay. So, are you a Welshman, Phil? Your name looks very normal to be from Wales. Phil Owens. That's like you're from Jersey.
I mean, but look at Max Appleman.
Oh, here's another Welshman. Stanley, that was my entire experience with one of the Wheel of Time books. Just grit my teeth and get through it. Wales, the country. Yes, a proud Welshman. Stanley is also a Welshman. Where's Elon, our triple crown of Welshmen? Oh, and then Ugly McGregor's the other one. Yes, As Murphy's still here. Your first back at 6:45, and we've already got Cycle Cleveland yelling at us. Tom Scioli's Transformers versus G.I. Joe is one of the greatest IP adaptations in comics history. Okay.
Well, we said we were going to talk about adaptations, so Harvey Picar's Ghost had to get one in the ring early, make sure he fired the first shot.
It's awfully early to start talking about the topic. I mean, we don't want to lose the entire chat right away.
No, let's talk about it. I want to get one thing off the bat right away.
Okay, go for it.
Comic adaptations are not new, and I'll give you one example. This is a comic adaptation of a comic. So, and this is so old that most of it isn't credited. You know, they don't know some of the artists and some of the writers. So
it's not just short strips glued together into pages. Because you know, if you read the history of the first issue of Action Comics that has Superman in it, they had originally Siegel and who was it? Jerry Siegel and Schuster. They had originally drawn them. This is the day that I'm having. They had originally drawn them as comic strips, and when DC asked them to contribute them to Action, they had to do paste ups of the comic strips to rebuild them into pages because they thought they were selling Superman as strips. So are they not just paste ups of Charles Schultz's work? They're actual like redraws.
I remember buying those books, those comic books.
These are some of the covers, and these are actually by Schultz, and then these say all brand new stories.
Yeah, I remember these. What book is this? I need it. Okay.
This is by Boom. It is Peanuts del Archive.
Peanuts del Archive. Wow. Already you're FOMOing me. That's why you did it, because you knew you'd FOMO me. You son of a... My not nephew, Ryan Bragg, welcome. Oh, James wants us to talk about, your packages right here. Ice cream, burgers equals sweaty laughter. What is that emoji?
Yeah, like
Hello,
nervous.
Rami. Oh, Robert Crumb's Book of Genesis is one of the best adaptations. I had forgotten you could throw the Bible into this. I have that somewhere. If we need it. Doc Elevator's here. Welcome. Chris Brogan. Oh, here's Mallory. How are you, Mallory? The best night of the month. Good to see the best looking gang back together again. Whew, Mallory, way to go. You know how to talk to us.
Thank you,
Appeal
Mallory.
to our vanity, right, Peter?
Yes, that will help me turn the page today as appeals to my vanity. I mean, really, any day. Some people like getting super chats. Some people like getting packages in the mail from James. I like appeals to my vanity.
I have to get something off my screen there. Okay. Joey, good morning. I think Joey's from down under. And let's see, Adrian, how you doing? Oh, Samantha's here, your fellow Kiwi.
Samantha. Kia ora.
Good to see you, Samantha. And Kane. I name-checked you, Kane, in my recent haul video because I think you're responsible for some of the things I hauled. I did not name-check Freddie. He's going to get name-checked in the next one with Peter because of all the
What did I do?
Conan I ended up buying by Jim Zub. Apparently it's great. Javier's here.
Yeah.
Just recently bought his own, like a real physical comic. He
They still make those?
he's been a digital reader, and he just recently picked up a compact edition of DC's.
Oh.
I forget what you got, Javier. Blas is here from Texas. Okay, you guys can secede. It's fine with the rest of the country. Go ahead. Bye. Nothing against you, Blas, but yeah. Captain, just when I'm going to bed, 2 a.m. Well, at least I'll have an entertaining show to watch at work tomorrow. You're peacing out? Good to see you. Peace and love. Blur and Oasis, why not both? I recommend listening to Oasis's B-side album, Master Plan. It's what made me love them.
Some bands, the B-sides are more impressive than the A-sides. OmniDog and I were just talking about his recommendation to me from the last stream. I went and got the deluxe edition, which had all these B-sides and live tracks. I said I might have liked that better than the actual album.
Did you get a physical copy, or it was Spotify?
No, I digitally got it, but we were talking about the Shop Assistants, who's this jangle pop UK band from 1986 that put out one record. I looked at all the members; none of them really went and were in other huge bands. It just happened, and that was it. But they so Jess assigned that to me to listen to. But of course, I went and I've got to go all the way deep. I'm like, I want to see their whole discography, which is pretty much contained on this single deluxe edition. It has all these alternate mixes, and then it has all these live sessions, including John Peel sessions. John Peel had a BBC radio show that a lot of artists played in the 90s and 2000s, and some of the best versions of their songs are from the John Peel show, because much like Tiny Desk now, it was just impeccably engineered. Yeah. And when I listened to the John Peel versions of the Shop Assistant songs, I was like, Jess, do you realize there are better versions than the versions on the album? So I had this whole process of discovery over the weekend, because it literally took me 5 weeks to remember to do that.
So the student becomes the teacher. You taught me that I need to go to Spotify and listen to more Shop Assistants. What I did today was I listened to today's recommendation. I listened to it all day on Spotify. What I will be recommending to you whenever we get our recommendations. Yes. And I have I have next month's recommendation already teed up. I'm taking this seriously.
Yeah, then you make fun of us for the spreadsheets, but look at you thinking ahead.
It's all in here though, and it's like it never lines up properly like your spreadsheets do. I mean, you guys out there in viewer land should see the chat that I am subjected to between these two nerds with their spreadsheet love. They are so spreadsheeted, and I don't even know how to create a spreadsheet. I can appreciate. My wife obviously knows how to do a spreadsheet because otherwise I wouldn't be organized at all. So I appreciate a good spreadsheet, but man, these guys nerd out over columns and shifts and what else is going on. Let's get out of this and ask Mallory. Krisis, who would you have given the VMA for most iconic performance to? Hashtag justice for Madonna's Vogue.
So I have to believe that they must have split the vote in order for, I think Katy Perry won, who of that group of performances was by far the most boring. But, you know, she needed a win because every song she launches off of this album is Floptina. So, but I think if we think about iconic MTV performances, the first two that jump, and the three really that jump in my mind, Madonna, Like a Virgin, from what would have been, I guess, 1984, right? Just on the stage, the wedding dress, walking down from the cake, like that was the first real, like, oh my gosh moment, I think, on the MTV Music Awards. Then, of course, Madonna doing Vogue in the period dress in the, would have been 90 or 91, probably. And then Lady Gaga doing Paparazzi with the blood and the white lace, which I think is really kind of what like broke her wide open. I'd already been listening to her, people were aware of her, but I think that's what like created a real spectacle. So to give it to Katy Perry for War for like wearing boxing gloves, I just don't, it doesn't quite compute for me.
No.
But you know, she's having a tough year being a flop. So
oh dear.
You
Just
know,
flop?
I'm trying to get the whatever. I don't even know if her fans have names. I mean, Swifties, they have real
No.
power. Do Katy Perry fans have any power influence? We'll find out once this video gets downvoted.
They've definitely lost interest. I've lost all interest, especially like recently as she's going off the deep end, and let's just say she's praising a lot of Musk, and she's showing off her Cybertruck quite a lot.
You should have led with that.
And of course, one of the other nominations, one of my favorite songs of all time, Beyonce doing Love on Top with the endless key change at the end. And at the end, she unbuttons her tuxedo jacket and rubs her belly. And no, it's not just a cummerbund. She's pregnant. I think it was her first pregnancy with Blue Ivy. You know, so many iconic performances. That song, I could just sing that in the car until I'm just squeaking and like dog whistle, because I just, even after the song ends, I just keep singing the key changes as they chromatically build and build. And so I'm like, you know, and it's just dog's howl.
Stanley, I just read the Justice League versus Godzilla book. Jess was right for once.
No, he's right quite a lot, and much to my annoyance and much to my just shelves.
That I can pull it right here because this is one of my this is in my spreadsheet of really good adaptations because it far surpassed what I thought it was going to be. And as I think Peter likes to say, this is a much better book than it deserves to be or should be. What is the saying? It's a much better book than it has a right to be.
Any right to be.
Yeah. Yeah. This was
they advertise that in like every digital DC comic.
Did.
I feel like I've read it already because there's so many panels for months and months in every digital DC book. But
And
sometimes the Justice League is one of those, like I look at the casts they use in the Justice League versus Godzilla or King Kong or whatever. I'm like, why are these not the official Justice League cast? Isn't Supergirl on the cast in that one?
Yeah.
Why is she not on the actual Justice League?
I don't know.
understand.
But I will say one other thing. You know, some of these things people will call cash grabs, and they most definitely are, but everything is a cash grab. We live in a capitalist society. People make books to make money. Like these people are making money. These companies are making a lot more money. Like, you know, but they're fun, you know. They can be fun. They can have top tier creators. They can have a message. They can do things just because, you know, the intention or the purpose of why it was created was to make money. Like everything we own and have doesn't take away its value or its contribution as a creative thing, as an art piece.
Yeah, unless you're Katy Perry.
Unless you're Katy Perry with that Cybertruck, yeah.
Full circle, nicely done. What was the alternate topic? Like the name? I mean,
the alternate title. It's poorly thought out cash grabs.
Poorly thought out cash grabs. Right. St. SS is here. Nice. Warren Weaver. What's he have to say? Only comic adaptations I guess I liked was the Power Rangers. Other than that, not a fan of adaptations.
Oh, well, you see, Warren, this is where you're wrong because adaptations is such a huge, like, this is what P and Peter were talking about, like, why we went all, why we
Spreadsheet.
went, why we went all spreadsheet nerd. Because, this is such a vast tide, like, there's so many things fit in this, adaptations, crossover, tie-ins, and then you have, when it gets all weird, being adaptations of adaptations. So, yeah.
Um,
You'll see some books here that are very much worth praise, Warren.
Now,
Even with your weird taste.
question: since it started out as a comic and then morphed into lunchboxes, movies, cartoon shows, what would IDW's most recent TMNT, those deluxe hardcovers, the ones that led up to that, like 1 through 13 or 14, I read those. But those, is that really an adaptation, or is that just a continuation of their comic book existence?
We got into a deep debate at the dinner table last night here as I was prepping for this episode. Freddie, what do you think?
Well, it's weird because you can technically say yes because it does cross over with the originals at some point. So you're like, oh, okay, so it's technically a continuation if it does acknowledge that it started from this. But TMNT is one of those things where where it became more famously as a TV show, and people are adapting more the TV show or the movie angle than the actual original comic.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to explain to Kid Krisis last night. Like the original it is a comic. TMNT was originally Eastman and Laird's comic, which was very much a violent parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil to begin with. But so much TMNT after that has been reflective of the kind of tropes and the characters and humor of the original cartoon, and also to an extent the original video games, that it's like kind of become an adaptation of itself. But that's, I think, true of any media. You could say the same thing for X-Men, right? Because of the impact of the animated series, certain characters kind of got locked into certain depictions, certain costumes, always being on the team when really they weren't always, because that became the most popular form of media, and then it kind of like feeds back on itself and defines what that piece of media is. So TMNT is, just very interesting. It's probably the best modern example of something that people don't even realize was originally a comic book.
Yeah. And to go full circle and end the debate, I will say that it's an adaptation because it's a licensed product now. Like, you open it up and it literally shows you the logo of who owns it. So is it an adaptation?
Right now, Nickelodeon bought out the shares and they license it back to IDW. Although Nickelodeon, I think, is very gracious and letting Eastman and Laird like kind of have as much steering, that they want to do.
Yeah, I think
based on what I've read about the editorial.
I think their contract when they sold it allows them to make at least one comic a year. So that's where Last Ronin and Last Ronin 2 and the Lost Years come from. And they're also, as you said, very gracious, where they allow Stan Sakai to do the crossovers with TMNT, and then have and Sakai is as well as gracious to them, allowing them to use Usagi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we really want to get Galaxy Brand on this, like even the Last Ronin is an adaptation, a version of TMNT, because it's like this future story that they're spinning off. I mean, we could really go deep and say any alternate universe story is an adaptation of an original story. Maybe that's for when we get into our third hour. I don't know.
Yeah, but I will say, I know that it's an idea that Eastman and Laird have had for years, but they did do a version of Last Ronin on one of the TV shows, not the CGI one. They kind of did their own version before the comic book came out, like years before. So it's very interesting.
I can't get over the fact that my dinner table conversation is so boring compared to Peter pulling out TMNT was a fiery topic at the dinner table last night with Krisis and perhaps Mrs. Krisis. I don't know where she is in all this. And what did I talk about last night at dinner? I think I ate dinner alone last night. So I probably deserved it. But I mean, that's what? How awesome is that? That Kid Krisis and you had a conversation about TMNT. I just can't get over it. That's
I
amazing.
When
mean,
we pivoted right from that to explaining and defining all the letters in LGBTQIA, so we are dinner conversations. We're at that great age where like everything is interesting and it's all about like acquiring more knowledge about how the world functions, whether that's comic book adaptations or or identities and respecting people's identities. So really, dinner conversation can go any which direction any given night.
I had a conversation with Jessica, Earth One Jess, on the Superman show Saturday, where we got into a conversation about demisexual, which is a completely new term to me, of course. And she had a book. Oh heck, what was the name of that book that she read? But it came with a glossary in it explaining, demisexual, all these other things, and I'm just like, there's so many things coming out new and big X. And Next Imaginot said it actually put it really perfectly. It's not that you're being pigeonholed, but those words are descriptors. And I thought that was a good way to put it. That those are descriptor words. So I'm learning new words every day. I can't remember if I decided I was demisexual or not. And then there's what's the one where I think I was attracted to Next Imaginot because of his intelligence.
That would be sapiosexual.
Yeah.
Exactly, with one P, sapiosexual. There we go.
Yeah, but
I think people joke about being sapiosexual, like, oh, I only like intelligent people, but they're like still picking hot people that are just intelligent. But I always, even though I know demisexual is about emotional bonds, I always think that like sometimes what people really mean is that they're demisexual, which is like, oh, well, that person is hot and I do like hot people, but I'm not going to decide if I'm attracted to them unless I like find them interesting, right? Because demisexual is about like initially forming attraction to emotional bonds, which could have to do with thinking somebody's really smart. It could be having to do with thinking somebody's really funny. But I think more people in this world are demisexual than like anybody would realize, because the label that people don't, or, an identifier that people don't really know, because there are so many people in this world who like only are really going to get attracted to people that they like think are cool and emotionally bonded with. That's why people like fall in love with their friends or their coworkers, right? It's because it's like the people they're around the most and just like think are really interesting and cool and form emotional bonds with. So I think it's actually very, very common to be demisexual, but not to the exclusion of other sexualities, right? Like somebody might be like, oh yeah, but they're still hot. Whereas if you're saying I'm a demisexual, you're like, I really only primarily get excited by these people that I have emotional bonds with.
Yeah. And
welcome to the dinner table. This is exactly what it's like to eat dinner at my house.
Wow.
And to go back to the new terms, they're not necessarily new terms. They're new terms to you and maybe a lot of the audience and a lot of people, but it's that a lot of these terms have stayed exclusively in really prestigious educational, like high class groups, and then they start like trickle down and it used to take decades for this to happen, and now it's happening in less than a few months, less than a few years, because we have the internet and we have like all these different groups that used to not talk are now like all engaged with one another. Like, you look at like Stonewall riots. These people didn't have terms for what they were. They were like, they used to say, oh, transvestite. They used to say cross-dresser. They didn't know what actually they preferred their identifier. They had this very vast term, and then now, like, we look at some key people in the past and we're like, oh, this person probably fit more into this group or this other group, and they had no idea. So this does happen where people find out decades later, oh, I've been demisexual all my life, or I've been ace, or I've been arrow.
And that's why I think, to bring it back to our like actual jamming on comics, although I love that we can have this conversation, I think everybody should, is like, when you're reading a comic now and you're like, oh, didn't they make Gwenpool asexual on that recently? It's like, people are like, oh, they're just checking a box. I'm like, well, no, it's just cool to see a character who has that level of specificity about them so that you
Mhm.
can go like, oh, that's an example of this thing that I kind of like broadly understand, but now I have somebody that I can associate with. And like, I that's no different than real life. Like if we were to totally know
Yeah.
everybody's inner feelings and all of the ways that they would, you know, to call their identity, we would learn so much more about people. But a lot of times we just see, you know, each other's face and that's all we know. So I really like, you know, I think Jeremy Whitley, who I think wrote some of that
I
digital
think so.
Gwenpool stuff, but also famously kind of really fleshed out Unstoppable Wasp and fleshed out that Nadia, you know, suffered from bipolar disorder and the ways that she manages. And I just think he's quite good at finding ways to highlight those little moments of identity in comics. And I love that about comics. I love that about comics in the 80s when it was Kitty Pryde giving her speech with all the slurs in it, which now is I think recently finally got censored on Marvel Unlimited, where she was like, you know, muty, slur I can't say, slur I can't say, slur I can't say. They're all just words that we're using for people. Yeah.
So this is a digital Gwenpool comic that you're reading?
Yeah, it's one of Marvel's digital originals. I think it was called like Love Unlimited or something like that. I just updated my Gwenpool guide, so I was just reading it.
I need to read that. I just got the notification that my credit card is getting ready to expire for Marvel Unlimited, so I better get on that because I want to read Gwenpool now. Otherwise, there's no new Gwenpool.
Well, and they don't seem to be in any hurry to print any of those digital first comics. They're every so often one of them will get collected into like the Jeff one because it was so they did a single issue, but a lot of them are just online. They're just a digital comic. Marvel has finally gone in that direction. And yes, it was Jeremy Whitley, and it begins in Love Unlimited Infinity Comic issue 43. Gwenpool's back and ready for love. What's a girl to do when she finds herself the star of a romance comic? First stop, a tragic affair with a boy she can never touch.
I love it. That's awesome. Yes, Kane, you were responsible for a couple of books in my haul. And okay, Mallory is pop girly. I like that. The only interesting pop girly right now.
She's the main one right now, but I wouldn't say she's the only one. There's a lot of really good pop.
It's a good year for pop music.
It is.
Mallory's opinion. I got Batman Court of Owls as my first physical comic. I think he got the compact one. Yeah. Oh, there's Aiku. Master Plan, whatever, and Acquiesce are in my top 5 Oasis songs, and they are B-sides. Speaking of music, I attended Linkin Park's concert last night. Okay. Hondo, what up, buddy? Good to see you. Suki Waterhouse is pretty cool. Only good recommendation is Onslaught. Onslaught? No. What? You know what? Are there any mods in the chat? What's happening? Why is Warren spreading this nonsense?
Well, Jess, if you had been at the Marvel Events Evergreen stream last year, maybe you could have prevented the violence that was committed. With Onslaught was voted one of the 10 Evergreen Marvel events, and my excellent nomination, War of Kings, was shut out.
And I was the only one. Did you talk about my picks, or
we
just
did at the end? We showed your picks, and your only pick that no one else chose was Judgment Day, which I would have voted for. I think is the best Marvel event of all time.
You're the one that got me started on that. So
did you love it?
Yeah, I picked it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think when we talked last month, Freddie and I were like, you should read a little bit of Immortal X-Men before you start.
Yeah.
Judgment Day. There were like 6 books, 6 thin trades that I read after I read the Eternals, and then that helped me get into Judgment Day. But yeah, it did help that I read, I think X-Men Red, Immortal X-Men, Hellfire Gala, like that.
All right, so hold on. Let's do a brief deep dive. Jess's opinion on Kieran Gillen's Eternals. Go.
He is Marvel's resident poet. He doesn't write words. He writes lyrics. He is a lyrical writer, and Eternals is easily in vying. No, okay, I take it back. Kieran Gillen is probably my writer of the year based on the Eternals. I thought that was poetry, and I thought it was amazing. And I don't even
The
I
way
didn't
he
even,
wrote the machine and the
yeah,
machine's constant running commentary on what was happening in the comic.
yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything about the Eternals, and I didn't know anything about the Deviants or anything about that. But I mean, he pulled it all together, and it made me care about them, and they all had very distinct personalities that even if you didn't know who they were ahead of time, he established that fairly quickly, and they stuck to their character. They didn't deviate from it at all. And I found it to be just operatic, practically. It was just beautiful.
And
Um,
I agree with all, I could not agree more with that assessment. And another thing that really stuck out for me is there's a lot of times the character is made out to be threatening or scary in a comic, and usually they'll do, they'll like break Batman's back or whatever to make it seem threatening. The how scary that comic made Thanos, and then on top of that, how scary it made Uranus without actually really having them do anything. They don't really do anything until Judgment Day. I found them viscerally terrifying. Like every time the comic would cut to them, I'd be like, oh, which is really hard to do in a comic, to make the comic actually. I mean, James Tynion can do it, but there's not a lot of him out there. And Gillen legitimately made these characters terrifying.
Yeah, you're right. That's easily the scariest Thanos has ever been to me. I mean, easily. Yeah, and Uranus was he was the one kept in the glass. Hannibal Lecter,
like very Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, he was terrifying too. I mean, didn't he spend like 4,000 years in that glass room, and it was like 2 seconds to him? He didn't care. He was like, oh, I'll just keep staying here. I don't. Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay, so now moving on, lightning round on the beginning, at least, of Al Ewing's X-Men Red. We're on Mars, Storm, Magneto, Sunspot is there. What did you think of that?
Oh, I loved it. I don't know. I think I used up all my words describing Eternals.
It was very eloquent. And
I think I'm empty.
It itself may have been poetry.
I have one thing I do want to do is I think Freddie and I have been talking about how I was going to finish out the Krakoa era, whether I should just go X-Men Red 1 through 4, or if I should follow the published sort of Destiny of X by the guy that mapped out the other books. If I should follow that, or if I should just read the trade paperbacks. So I'm at that point where I think in November I'm going to start up again with Krakoa, and then I think enough books will be out by that time into fall of X, where I'm going to have to decide if I want to, how I want to finish it. Just X-Men Red 1 through 4, Immortal X-Men 1 through 4, or do I want to? That sounds easier to me.
Okay.
Well, I will say that after, I don't know, Freddie, what you think. I think after Judgment Day, the idea of a reading order becomes less important until we get to the Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X. 2023, it's kind of like it's almost like they all spread after Judgment Day through the Hellfire Gala, and then they kind of all come back together. So people have been leaving comments and I said, oh, are you going to do a reading order? Is it going to? I'm like, honestly, I don't think anyone benefits. I think just read each trade.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll say I don't think it makes sense going issue by issue anymore unless you are reading it digitally and you want it to like stick closer to the dates and whatnot. But if you have the paperbacks, either go one paperback and then jump through a few series, or just read up until Fall of X, and then after you read Fall of X, go and basically almost finish out the book right up until the end, and then finish those out. Because like Peter said, they basically go and do their own thing. That a lot of them aren't even in Krakoa anymore.
Right, like I don't think you gain anything from like interspersing issues of like Bishop War College or
Yeah.
Realm of X, or like they just read them in the order that they're like number 5 came out. That's a lot of times kind of my default is, and I've been updating. I think I updated like another 40 guides this week with like the newest reading order for those characters because I read everything. So in my head, I like kind of know where I think things fit, but I haven't like spreadsheeted it out yet. And when I look at a big list of all the order everything came out with, so often you can kind of just go, okay, well, where did that arc end? Because the editors are kind of moving things around based on the ending status quo. So like it's like, oh, Daredevil was in 2 things at one time. He was in War of the Realms at the same time his Chip Zdarsky series was starting. Well, which one finished first? War of the Realms finished before the first arc of Zdarsky finished, so almost certainly War of the Realms happened before Chip Zdarsky. And I think that like as the person who personally does complicate reading orders of everything, I think we way overcomplicate reading orders, and sometimes you just go by what had its last issue first.
Yeah, I've shared this story before. I don't think I said it when you were on, Peter, that it was one of those summits of Marvel with the writers, and Aaron has this great big idea of Daredevil, and he goes to Zdarsky, who's writing Daredevil at the moment. He's like, "Oh, so I have this idea where he gets this big sword, and this happens. Like, can it fit anywhere in what you're doing right now?" And he's like, "No, not at all. But do it anyways. It's fun."
Oh, right. Yeah, you did tell me that.
Like just do things because they're fun. Just read things because they're fun. Don't go like, oh, where does this Buffy book fit in everything? Like, who cares? There's a bunch of weird tales and it's fun. Like, just like you love these characters, you love these books. Like, just go for it, and then maybe complicate it later if you're like me and Peter. But I don't think while we're reading War of the Realms and Daredevil has this huge sword, we're going like, but he's in prison right now. This doesn't fit anywhere. No, we're just like, man, that is brilliant. Suddenly
I think one of these like weird barriers to entry, not only for people who are new to comics, but even people who are like our faithful that love, watching us and talking to us in the comments and stuff, they confuse the fact that those of us who are super obsessed with this stuff enjoy reading things in this order and putting it in order. Versus having to do that. Like Freddie and I might actually really enjoy having shuffled all these and switching between issues in order. But I had somebody leave a comment on my X-Men reading guide saying, "This is no fun switching back and forth." And I replied, true. Like I'm not saying it has to be fun for you. This is here for the people who want to do it this way. But if you find it annoying, nobody's gonna make you do it. Go and read all of Uncanny X-Men. Love it. Enjoy it that way. Yeah, I think people like conflate the fact that you can put it in an order with like you must put it in order, and then you must put it in order to enjoy it. Like no.
Yeah, like if you want to read the Bendis era and then you want to go read Wade and then you want to go back and read how Brubaker did it before Wade, like do it. I mean, no one's judging you, no one's stopping you. Like if that's the order you want to go in, like in your head you have that, oh, these events must go before these other ones. That's fine. Like you don't lose anything if you know that Daredevil's gonna live through Brubaker's run. Like, hello, he's still Daredevil.
He's Daredevil.
Yeah.
I just want to catch up with the chat a little bit because we've got Samantha saying Katy Perry is such a flop. LOL. Followed immediately by Miriam. I will not tolerate Katy Perry blasphemy.
I was like you once, Mary, but I'm sorry. She is like a plastic bag going through the air right now.
I mean, for it to be blasphemy, I think it has to be untrue. So I think we're safe.
Logan, I can't stay long, guys, but one day we've also got to talk about adaptation by Hollywood folks who seem embarrassed by comics or feel like they're beneath them. For example, Todd Phillips with Joker 2 or Oz Cobb.
I am so heated about this Oz Cobb nonsense, Logan. Heated.
Do you know this? So apparently they thought Oswald Cobblepot was such a ridiculous name that because the Batman wants to be so grounded and so human and so real, they thought a better name would be Oz Cobb. Like if an actor called Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't exist. Like ridiculous names exist.
Yeah,
like
he's just Ben.
Sounds like a salad.
Yeah.
Well, Oz Cobb. What? I did not know that.
It's an even more ridiculous name than Oswald Cobblepot. Like it sounds like a fancy ass name.
I love Oswald Cobblepot. He looks like an Oswald Cobblepot.
He looks like an Oswald. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
actually, he looks like Richard Kind right now, but
Samantha's friends with paparazzi here, so this will be interesting. So my friends that I went to Europe with in June are paparazzi, and they waited until 4 a.m. in Paris for Katy Perry and asked her straight out why she was working with Dr. Luke. It went viral that night.
yeah.
I'm so sorry I read that because I don't understand any of it.
I don't know if we have time to explain that.
Let's not. Let's just say it's bad.
Is Dr. Duke not a good person? He's not a good person, and she's working with him. Oh,
Yeah, I will say there's something else, like
oh.
I don't want to talk about it, but there's a certain artist called Sean who was just arrested by the FBI, and no celebrity has commented on this.
Well, it's very
And
fresh.
that's-
On the homepage of
and
the
that's-
Washington Post.
And that's
It's
a big
thing.
tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not just that it just happened. It's that we've known that this was coming for months now. Maybe a little bit more than months. And now that it's happened, it's quiet, like eerily quiet. Yeah,
Well, I think, we have the great gift of not actually being famous, because as much as
Yeah.
people think they want to be famous, once you're famous,
no.
everything you say becomes like canon for you. To pick like a
Mhm.
totally mild thing, which was hilarious to me, back to the VMAs and Katy Perry. Jack Antonoff, very famous producer, works
Yeah.
with, I know him from being a member of Fun with Nate Roos, but he's produced a lot of Taylor Swift and a lot of other pop music. He had little blue earplugs in during the VMAs, and the camera panned to him while Katy Perry was talking or singing or something, and he had earplugs in. And it became this whole thing. Jack Antonoff wore earplugs during Katy Perry. I wear not only earplugs, but I wear like muff style earphones like Freddie has on whenever I go to a big rock concert, because I value my hearing, and I've lost a little bit of my high end. And so anybody who's like a real musician type person or an audiophile like Freddie would know why he was wearing earplugs. Then he had to issue a statement like, guys, I wear earplugs to protect my hearing. And then people are like, no, that's a lie. You had them on. You hate Katy Perry. You didn't want to hear her sounds in the room. And it's like every action you take as a celebrity just gets immediately canonized and conflated the same way. We're like, no, Jean Grey, or Professor X used telekinesis in this issue, so he's always had telekinesis. And I think when it comes to like commenting on stuff, whether it's the P. Diddy stuff or whether it's the Neil Gaiman stuff or whatever, like celebrities have to really think like, ooh, if I make any kind of like offhand comment, the fans are going to turn it into canon. Yeah. So I have to like really like, pick my battles. And I think we did that as fans. I don't think that's like famous people being cowardly. I think that's because fans immediately want to take every quote about Dr. Luke from Katy Perry and meme it. I don't know. I'll get off the soapbox now.
No, it's fine. I'm here for it, buddy. I'm stay on that soapbox.
Yeah, I work with celebrities sometimes, as you know, and the last one that I worked with is a boxer who's gonna fight with Mike Tyson, and he doesn't leave his compound. He doesn't leave his gym. He doesn't leave his house. It's house gym. That's all he does because of threats that he received. Like, you don't want to be a celebrity. You don't want to be followed. You don't want, it seems fun. Like, people take selfies with you. They ask for your autograph. But at some point, your humanity and respect as a person is lost. Like, you become like an item.
Yeah. Hondo is a huge Madonna fan, so she's the GOAT. With that said, Monica and Brandy, The Boy Is Mine, was a good VMA moment. Okay, I don't even know when the VMAs were. I'm so out of it.
Well, there were two really good performances.
Was that this weekend?
Yeah, right?
Wait, what day?
Last weekend.
That's right. Okay, last weekend.
Last weekend. It was Chappelle Rowan, and who's the other one?
Yeah. Speaking of Chapel Roan, that was my homework, and I think I listened to the song on Amazon Music and not Spotify, and it's so after I heard some Chapel Roan. Then it kicked me over to other, as Mallory said, pop girlies. And I started hearing Billie Eilish, which I hadn't heard before. And she had this song, Lunch, that I thought was awesome. It was such a good song. And if I wouldn't have known, I mean, I like that I wasn't kept in a box of just Chapel Roan. As good as I thought, I loved her voice, and you were right about the Kate Bush comparisons, but I liked getting exposed to other artists that I never, it's just not in my wheelhouse. And I can, that song Lunch was really good. I could listen to that.
Really dirty too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Rocked out, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is awesome, but it was really good.
I'm gonna send you two things from the VMAs. I'm gonna send you Sabrina Carpenter because she was the other person that was really awesome, and the Chappelle Roan version. I'll put it on our group chat. And then I'm gonna send you a Paramore cover that I had not heard of before, and I'll talk
Paramore
about
covering
that later.
something or somebody covering Paramore?
Yeah, no, covering somebody else. And it's
Paramore last year had this really cool album where other artists covered every song on This Is Why. And actually, I think some of them are a lot more exciting than the original because the artist kind of like played with it a little. I think This Is Why is a record is a little has some like the record This Is Why is on. I forget if it was called that, but it was a little samey for me, even though a lot of the songs are good. Loved Crave, another great song. But all the artists that cover them, I found so many new artists. I found Claude, and I love them, and then I found Remy Wolf, who I think is like my favorite record of 2024 so far. But it's just that constant branching, right? And I love when artists kind of network and cover each other and have each other as guests and stuff because it's like how it fuels discovery.
Yeah, they covered Paramore covered Bringing Down the House, and I've been obsessed with that version ever since.
I love Paramore. I've seen them many times.
Bunk says, just clicked onto the video to hear Peter telling me more people are demisexual. Not sure when this new chapter of OmniDog opened, but I'm here for it. Nice, Bunk. I'm glad you could make it for it. I'm glad I'm watching this with headphones on. Yeah. My family rarely talks during dinner. We would normally watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune while having dinner or go into separate rooms, which is fine. Sometimes we just don't want to talk to each other. Well, when you got Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune to choose from, I get it.
Yeah, but just I didn't want to call you out, but you have conversations about Star Wars and video games with your daughter all the time.
Yeah, but not at the dinner table, I don't think.
Okay.
Maybe. No, No, you're right, but it's more like while we're watching something on TV. One day, hopefully in 2024, you'll be able to watch OmniDog X-Men Jeopardy. Yes, I am definitely going to be working on that with you, James. I totally want to get that going.
So we don't watch screens at the dinner table, but we do a lot of like trivia and stuff. We just have like a no screen dinner table, and there's this thing. It's kind of niche called Learned League that my partner is obsessed with. It's like an invite only trivia club, and the trivia is like hard. It's like peak Jeopardy hard. And there's 6 questions a day in all these different categories. And once it's like invite only the way like a new social network is, but it's always been like that. And once you get invited, you get put in a group with other people that are also newbies, and you answer 6 questions, these 6 questions a day. And you're not supposed to use any external knowledge or like looking up anything. Even if you're like, oh, I know exactly how to search for that answer. You're on your honor not to. And you are pitted against a specific other person every day, but you're not only going head to head on the answers, but also head to head on how you grade your guesses on how the other one will do. So you can like look at their track record and be like, oh, Jess gets every pop music question right. I think Jess will get this pop music question right. So if you're like tied, or even if the other person like beat you by one answer, you might have like graded them better, and then you win. And then every month, the top people from the top of that bracket move into a harder one with all the other people who like graduated. But it's like this whole secret society. Like I've never really heard anybody talk about it, but there's like hundreds or maybe even thousands of people who do it, but you've got to be invited by somebody else who does Learn It League.
Secret society. That does sound exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Just
but so we do often at dinner. We will do the learnedly questions from the day before because I don't want to hear them on the day because even though I'm not playing, I risk blurting it out. They recently had a great question that's like, "What is a big pop hit in 2024 that repeats 3 of the same word in the title, much like a song 60 years ago that was a debut hit for one of the most popular music acts of all time, repeated that word twice, which is."
I lost what you were saying. I'm
So
sorry.
Sabrina Carpenter's big hit this year,
Okay, there
Please,
we
Please,
go. I'm
Please.
back. I'm back.
60 years ago in 1963, the first big Beatles single was Please, Please Me. And I
Yeah.
immediately got excited, Please, 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 Please Me. But I was like, I can't say anything because if I say it, I'll like give her external information. And then she will have to, on principle, fail the test for the day because she cannot use information she got from me.
I only knew the Beatles part of that answer.
I got it from the Beatles part. I wasn't totally sure, but I was like,
Okay.
well, 60 years ago, a song with a repeated word in the title from one of the biggest bands of all time is clearly Please Please Me. So then I was like, okay, please, please, please.
Hmm.
Also
Blast.
great Fiona Apple song.
Did you see that? Yes. This is I love that people know me so well because several people have sent me the cover to issue 1 knowing that I love magic. They send it to me, and I got several people today sending me the news about the new Batman by Neil Adams omnibus, the news that they're going back to the original colors and inks, and I got that from a lot of people, and I was like, I like that people know me well enough that they send me like my own personal comic news. That's awesome.
Yeah, but to talk about the X women that have their own titles right now, it's Phoenix, Psylocke, Storm, Magic, Dazzler, Wolverine, Mystique, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Wait,
Awesome.
when did that get announced?
Let me look it up. I don't remember when it happened.
Gosh, wow. I mean, I don't know who, as a great lover of the X Women, I'm like, who else needs a title? Plus, Kitty Pryde
1
and
month
Emma
ago.
are anchoring exceptional. Like, we're pretty far down in my depth chart of favorite X ladies at this point.
Wait,
Rogue is anchoring Uncanny.
Oh, it's I think it's a one shot.
Anderson-
Collects the character's entire Marvel Voices Infinity comic arc. Oh, with a brand new story
so
by
that's
the
like
returning
one of
creative
those.
team.
That's one of those examples of they found one digital series that they're going to smash together like 6 issues of and put it out as a print comic.
Are Emma and Kate Pride in something?
Yeah,
Emma and Kate Pride are the stars of Exceptional X-Men by Dr. Eve Ewing.
yes.
And Carmen Carnero, my favorite artist. I haven't read it yet, though.
This is like a dagger in my heart. I've been wanting to get the Gwenpool omnibus for some time, but I can't decide between it and Black Cat Omni. Don't make me choose. I love them both so much. I made all my fans and viewers petition Omar every Saturday for a year to get that Gwenpool omnibus made, and it took a psychic toll on Omar, and he finally caved. But boy, I sure love Black Cat too, Alex. If there's any way you can do both, you will be so happy.
And they're both very complete omnibuses.
They are.
They both tell a very complete arc, so they're very satisfying in that way. God, I don't know. I don't know how I could choose between recommending those two to somebody. I might have to flip a coin.
Yeah. Oh, Crushing says, I have a whole song about yelling at Shepard.
I don't know if you passed it, but there was a comment by Alex where he's talking about One Piece and he's saying like, oh, One Piece is only one thing, by one creator, and I wanna say that's not necessarily true.
What time was it?
I lost it. I don't know. It was a while ago.
Oh.
But One Piece started out as a bunch of different one shots called Romance Dawn, so it kept on evolving, and then there's a novel about what Ace's life was before he appeared in the first episode, his first episode or first chapter, manga chapter, and there's a live action show, and there's a bunch of theater plays that's where the creator met his current wife, who was playing Nami. It's not just one thing. It's been adapted several times. If people want to enjoy different versions of One Piece, they can go ahead and do that.
Peter almost sold me on Atlantis Attacks. Then I saw it on Goodreads 2.8. Going to have to think about it some more. This was on. Oh, this was on the events. The events evergreen thing. Crushing Krisis was just hates War of Kings, so not sure he would have helped you there. Now, hang on. Now, first of all,
no.
I liked Annihilation. I loved Annihilation Conquest.
Yes.
It was Road to War of Kings where I had my Darkhawk moment where it ruined the entire reading experience for me, and I had to quit because Darkhawk was this big, damp, wet sponge that just got smacked me in the face, and I couldn't breathe, and it was just that's what ruined it for me.
Yeah.
I don't hate War of Kings. I wanted to love it. I mean, it took me a while to get all 5 of those books because they were in various states of out of print, in printedness type thing, and so I was disappointed that I couldn't. But I loved Annihilation Conquest. I would stand up for that one.
Yeah. And I'm just surprised that it didn't occur to you to just skip the Darkhawk issues.
The damage had been done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading straight through, and I was just like, okay, that's it. I'm sorry, I'm done.
I'll just say there's a Guardians of the Galaxy by DNA omnibus. I don't know how available it is, but that story is very well worth ending. Especially because I think the omnibus has Thanos Imperative.
I have that omnibus. I haven't read it yet, though. What is Darkhawk in it or something?
He shows up once or twice, but it really makes no impact. Like, I'm sorry if anyone was really into Darkhawk. I have the issue number 1 of his very first appearance, so don't come after me, guys. I have Darkhawk number 1.
I have it all in a stack with a rubber band, ready to be bound if they don't ever make it omnibus.
But his value in the World of Realms, like all of that, is basically 0 because all he does is try to assassinate a character, and then people are after him, and it basically doesn't go anywhere unless you read his run. So in the events per se, it makes minimal impact. Darkhawk.
Miguel, welcome. Recently showed my 3-year-old the 90s TMNT movies. She loved them and now runs around yelling, "I'm Shredder!" Good for you. Nicely done. Yeah, that is awesome, Miguel.
Yeah.
Okay, some stuff. Believe me, I truly think he's the best writer. Oh, we're talking about Kieran Gillen. Truly think he's the best writer in heroic comics. Even when I hate his story, I love his writing. Oh, here's One Piece something. Oh, so One Piece must have been
just before that.
Up here somewhere.
Yeah, and I think you passed. There was an appearance by the Comic Slayer.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What time? How did I miss that?
I was scrolling through. I'm looking for it. I'm sorry. Oh, it's 8:49.
Oh, okay. I'm not there yet.
Oh, you're not there yet? Okay.
I mean, I'll go there for her. Just
but she's trolling. She's trolling.
Oh, she's trolling?
Mm-hmm.
Jess, do you know what lunch is about? It sounded like, it sounded like a girl that wanted to, I know what lunch is about. I've listened to the lyrics. Don't troll me. I know what's going on. You think I'm some clueless old geezer that just knows what's going on? What the hell?
Yeah, unlike Batman, Jess endorses that, okay?
Yeah.
That's right. I am a generous lover. That's right. Not like Batman, who's selfish.
That's for you. That's for you.
You never know where this show is going to go.
No, it's now OmniDog Autumn.
Yeah.
We've moved into OmniDog Autumn now. But I loved Bragg Summer. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I think we should probably, before it gets too late, because I know James sent a package to my home.
What's in the box?
Just Bragg, the famous OmniDog, open live with Peter and Freddie.
Oh, wow.
That's
on the shipping label.
That's detailed. Okay.
Yeah. So we will definitely open this. I have no idea what it is. Maybe it has something to do with Billie Eilish's lunch or something. That comic
I
slaves.
might not be able to
I
show that
can't
on
handle.
camera.
Okay, wait. Oh, okay, I see.
Mm.
Whoop. Okay.
It's
Interesting.
lovely, like kind of mauvey pink, a little
Yeah.
darker than salmon. Might be the color of my eyeshadow today.
James is a can tell the future, you know.
Oh,
Suspense.
wow. Oh, wow. What is going on? This is okay. Wait.
Cards and seeing
Oh my
trading
God.
cards.
Yeah. Wait. Let me
Complete
highlight
set of
my
trading cards in sleeves of what?
just a sec. Let me do this. So this is this some kind of like Magic the Gathering type card? You've been invited to join the band. Do you accept? And then, oh, are these business cards? I I think, oh, these are like, yeah.
Oh, but wait, they have
This-
like OmniDog quotes on them.
Yeah, I love
Wow.
taking
Oh my!
This is exactly what we were talking about the other day. Wow.
mouth harp, fighting skills, attack power, defense power. Snoozing after OmniDog finishes a live stream, all of your opponents fall asleep. We've got chocolate milkshake temporarily increases your HP by 2,000 points for 2 turns. Oh my God, James, this
Wow.
is amazing. Oh, we've got an appearance. Everyone knows all of Omar's picks will be wrong.
Wow.
Intelligence. Now, does he play the mouth harp? Oh, hair 5 out of 5 for sure. Defense power, HP. Jeff Lemire with Peter knowledge of Jeff Lemire books can increase anyone attack power by double. Oh,
Ah!
best. Ben and Jerry's vanilla caramel fudge, my favorite flavor.
Oh, I wish we got that here.
Yeah, these are all OmniDog's vault. Oh, Freddie's got one.
Nice.
OmniDog needs trading cards.
I did say that.
Now his mouth harp 4 out of 5 fighting skills, speed, durability, audio mixing with the power of audio engineering. Freddie can turn down the volume in half of one opponent attack. Bunk.
Nice.
Bunk represented. It's so good. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Bunk the hunk. Hayden eye candy with the power of bunk muscles. You can increase anyone attack power by double. Bunk is represented. Up here's astonishing Melanie. Wow, that's awesome. Mouth harp 3 out of 5. Jazz hands with the power of astonishing Melanie. Jazz hands your attack and defense power double. These are all Batter Days in the Batcave cards. James, these are awesome.
They are awesome.
The whole cast of characters.
Here's the. Have you seen this, Peter? What he did? The adorable OmniDog omnibus. Robert Kirkman and Steve
Robert
Orlando.
Kirkman and Steve Orlando.
And you see who the publisher is? Taco Bell.
Wow.
Okay, this one's blank. Oh, Geo made it.
Nice.
I hate Mondays. Geo of Manga Geekdom. Monday, if you're using this card on a Monday, your opponent attack is cut in half.
Nice.
Oh, here's Dom of X. Comic releases is amazing. Dom of X, very fine condition project manager. Comic release with the power of comic releases. You call upon the power of everyone in Discord and temporarily increase your defense power by 5,000. Okay, this is a deep cut. The missing cheeseburger from a burger bet with Lou. He's owed me that burger for 5 years and he still hasn't paid me.
Yeah, I don't think it's a deep cut when you mention it all the time.
Yeah. There's Omnibo. Ozzy wears
Omnibo
for
gets
life.
his own card.
Omniverse for life. Crocodile Dundee. With the power of Australia, your opponent's attack and defense power are flipped. His mouth harp, 3 out of 5. Strength, speed. Oh my gosh, these are great. Oh, Cycle Cleveland, you made it too. With the supernatural power of Cycle Cleveland, your opponent will lose a turn. That looks like Cycle Cleveland to me. Jake made it. Brave and the boys, I don't need to collect Usagi Yojimbo. Crowbar Jake. Oh, mouth harp, weak. 1 out of 5. Jason Todd, crowbar. With the power of the crowbar, flip a coin. If heads, your attack will double. And the last... very fine condition.
What is happening?
He is being held up. Oh dear. Temporarily decrease your opponent's HP by 3,000 points for 3 turns. James, these are amazing.
Wow. Incredible.
Wow. This is, and then I will place them back in the eyeshadow pink cradle where they will go. Oh my gosh, these were so good, James. Nicely
When I
done.
first saw the Batman logo, I'm like, did he get you an original cassette tape of the soundtrack to Tim Burton's Batman with the Prince classic Bat Dance on it? It was the right size.
Oh, I like it. All rights reserved. He didn't miss a trick with these.
No, not at all.
Now I need to catch up with the chat and see what everybody's saying about that, because that was awesome, James. Yes. Right? I'm just happy James 69,000. Cycle has to have a card, something to do with Uber Eats. So freaking cool. Good to see you, Doug. Yeah. This is cool. Power meters on each one. Look at all the love for these. Yeah. Oh my gosh, James, you're amazing. You win the internet for your life.
He does.
He really does. Yeah, they really are. That was really, really cool. Omar Reyes says, taking the kiddos to see Transformers 1 this weekend. You guys know? Oh, this has got to be for somebody else. I do not know this. If that's a comic accurate adaptation of the Transformers origin?
I don't know how well it maps to other origin stories. I know my Australian buddy Felix saw it and had many complimentary things to say about it. And the voice cast is wild. I mean, Chris Hemsworth, John Hamm, just a lot of very, very famous people voicing it. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, actually. I'm not a big Transformers. It's just not one of my properties. I was G.I. Joe, rather than Transformers, so I don't really know a lot.
Okay. Let's see.
If you go up a little bit, Jaggernaut has a very specific question for us that he wants us to discuss. Trying to find the time that it happened. We're looking for late in the 12s.
Darkhawk is
1258. 1258.
58.
Okay. Jaggernaut. Oh yeah, somebody's Jaggernaut.
Oh, here it is.
This one? Oh, I'm so sorry, Jaggernaut. Just got laid off. What book should I read to bring up my spirits? Oh no.
That's terrible. Okay.
Well, honestly, I think either Black Cat or Gwenpool. Those books.
Don't be selling that man an omnibus. He needs to be saving right now, Jess. Come on.
He does. He does.
He said, what book should I read?
I don't know what you have available to you, Jag. That's so. Let me.
Gwenpool was actually the first thing that jumped to my mind. Not only because it's fun, but because she's placed in a situation which, for some people, would be untenable, which is that she's like stuck in a comic book, but she just makes it work for her. Which I think is like a fun thing to read when you're feeling, really in a tough spot. I would say I would say Superman Smashes the Klan would be my
Ooh, yeah.
recommendation. Because
That's
it's
a
like
good one.
super uplifting, and it shows
Mhm.
how a person who decides to stand for something can alter a corrupt system. I think that's like a really like uplifting message that that like makes you feel good about heroes in the real world in addition to fictional heroes.
That's a good reason for why, yeah. I'll say these are available in a lot of different formats, so you don't have to get this big chunker. The Oz, just to stay in adaptation realm, like these are the first 6 books of Oz, all the Dorothy saga. They're available in 3 digest-sized books that collect two stories per digest size, and there's 6 OHCs if you wanted to go that route, because I think this one's going for a bit of money right now.
Oh, it is?
I
Huh.
think so. But yeah, this is such a good story. It's Scotty Young doing all the art. It's just phenomenal to look at. It'll cheer you up. It's so fun. Like it's great. It's one of the best adaptations that exist in comics. Period.
Yeah, you did pull that really quickly, so you must have had it as your adaptation donation here.
Is that
Yeah,
on
I
Marvel
mean,
Unlimited? Since it's a Marvel book, right? So
Oh, let me see
what
if
is
I
the
can.
actual title? Is it like just Oz or like the Wonderful World? Or actually,
Yeah,
the
because there's
series
6.
search has string search now. So you
Because
can...
there's 6 of them. There's a Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, The Road to Oz, and the last one, The Emerald City of Oz.
Yeah, it is all on Marvel Unlimited.
Oh,
So you
look at
can just
that.
read it all on Marvel Unlimited.
Amazing. They're so worth it. It'll uplift you, and it's so great.
I'm going to stick with Gwenpool. That's what. I don't know. Black Cat is awfully fun and very intelligent, very smart, very strong. I both have strong female protagonists, which I love.
I mean, Dorothy and Ozma, come on.
Well,
Those are 2 great female
these are all
protagonists.
choices. I'm not arguing that he shouldn't read
Well,
that.
now I'm arguing against you. We're having a debate right now.
You think you're on the Evergreen show?
No.
This is great. Krisis, with you keeping up in the chat, does it feel like traveling back in time when Jess highlights questions from 30 minutes ago? Yes, because I'm also often responding to the chat in the conversation too. So then just flashes back to it. I'm like, WTF?
Yeah.
Yes, Kane, I had to move into this room to do my haul video that I just did. And there were, I decided to just stay in here because I never get to broadcast from this
Mhm.
room. And this is where all the DC books are. And the new shelf of shame is all the new books right here.
Oh.
I have a new bookshelf of shame. So yeah, this is the temporary studio tonight.
But going back one comment, I think Peter has it even worse because he has to think 2 things now. Like, what was the chat talking about, and what did I reply? What did I say?
Well, and people can't tell that he's typing
Yeah.
because you can't see his shoulders or his hands move. So he's like stealth answering.
No, and sometimes he's talking and he's typing because I see him talk, and then I see a new comment. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Called ADHD.
Yeah. Harvey knows what's going on. Yeah. Even with his
Mhm.
typos, he knows what's going on.
So, Freddie, perhaps it's time to hear
Mm.
about your unified theory of comic adaptations.
Unified.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to know yours because I said that I have 4 categories, and Peter said, "Oh, it's similar to mine," because I went and described it very well, and Peter just teased me. He left me hanging in the chat, like mouth
Well, we got to
Botox,
leave
except he hasn't
some
answered.
things for the show. We can't resolve all of the plot threads in the group chat, or else there'll be nothing to talk about on the show.
Okay. Explain mouth Botox again.
Mouth Botox. Okay.
I'm
So-
glad that you didn't forget about it because I asked him yesterday and I was like, oh, he's going to forget, leave it dangling. It's very
If you have been
interesting.
keeping up with the deep Krisis lore over the past couple of months, I've been having some major dental maladies, which, oh my gosh, have continued on to today. I won't get into it too deeply,
Oh,
but one of
no.
the things I've been told now by multiple dentists to do is get Botox, not fun face Botox, but jaw Botox. Because Botox, what it does, it's botulism, right? It's like a slightly dead virus that can weaken your muscles. And the reason people get it for wrinkles is because it deadens the muscles around the wrinkles, so you don't make your muscle movement as much, and it makes the wrinkles look smoother, right? But you can use it on actual muscle tissue, and it actually weakens the muscle tissue. So if you have a muscle tissue that is way overpowered, which some people sometimes have legs that they have that problem with. For me, it is my jaw muscle. Apparently, I have a really bulky jaw. I learned yesterday. Apparently, if you inject it with Botox, it like dies down, and there's no way to like. It's not like with a leg where it's like, oh, do less leg days. Like I can't do less jaw days. I just talk and chew too much apparently. So I have to get
You
Botox.
chew too much.
Not even Botox that's going to make me look good. Just Botox, which is still just as expensive. It's the same Botox. It's not like you can get B-grade Botox, but I'm getting it not even for cosmetic purposes, apparently.
And where do you know exactly where it'll go in?
All inside my face until I'm dead inside, apparently.
So it's to relax. What is your strong jaw cause
All
in your
sorts of
mouth?
problems.
Like grinding of your teeth or
yeah, grinding, crack teeth, grinding. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I was a candidate for Botox for migraines, but fortunately they found the right combination of things of drugs to give me so that I but that was like the last thing they had in their arsenal was, and it goes like all up and back here,
right? Because it's really like weakening muscles and like
yeah, it didn't really sound that great. So
no, I kind of like sticking with the original factory settings as much as possible. So I'm like, I don't know about this Botox. I've had multiple people.
Factory settings. Forgerelli. Oh, deep cut by Forgerelli. Jess will also be very excited to hear there will be a sequel to Beautiful Darkness. Wow, I hated that book. Forgerelli, good pull there. Yikes. I really did not care for that book. I think that got root beered.
Okay, well, since Peter explained his trauma to us, I'll explain my 4 categories.
Okay, let's hear your 4 categories.
Okay, so the first one is continuations. This is Gargoyles here in Manhattan. This follows directly after season 4, episode 1, because that's where season 3, episode 1, where Greg Weisman finished his Gargoyles. Because afterwards,
okay, so category 1, comic adaptations, which in some way extend the source material in a professed to be official capacity. Although we all know sometimes when the thing gets renewed for real, they're like, fuck those comics. And then they just ignore that they even happen. But they're ostensibly an official continuation. So category 1, ostensible official continuations.
Exactly. Mine's signed, so I just wanted to point that out.
Little flex thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Another one is a new universe. So this is Gem and the Holograms by Kelly Thompson and Sophie Campbell. So this is extensively like rebooting the adaptation. So this is my second category.
Is that book still in print, or is it out of print?
No, not that Trapper Keeper version, because I missed it and it is not around anymore.
Well, sad. They
never doesn't it open up like that? Like that's a
no. It opens up regular.
Oh no, it's just an illusion. I thought it opened like a real Trapper Keeper.
No, but it's very sad that they didn't keep making these. And then
so category 2, adaptations that are their own track. They're not connected to the official continuity. They're telling their own story. They're their own sideline continuity.
Exactly. So it's basically taking the idea, the world, or the characters, and starting fresh. A modernized version, a different version, whatever you want to call it. And then there's the official adaptations where they're basically going with what you already know, but in comic book form. So this is 1984 by George Orwell, but the graphic novel.
I've seen
I,
those.
yeah, 1984. I love this book. I didn't love the comic.
Hmm.
So I kept it, but it's not my preferred way of reading it. Like,
Hmm.
but how to Kill a Mockingbird though, this adaptation is so beautiful. It's so good. Like it definitely made the experience even better. Surprisingly, like this is a very powerful book, and the graphic novel itself, I think, behind it a bit more.
I'm
Hmm.
surprised this was not category number 1. So, adaptations
Yeah.
as an official adaptation. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not
Number
it's
3.
not expanding To Kill a Mockingbird. It's not adding anything more. It's just taking the book and putting it in a graphic novel form. And it doesn't just apply to books. It applies to TV shows or movies like the Star Wars.
Oh, Christmas special.
No, I was
You have
gonna
a
say
Quickie Mart shirt. I just noticed that you have a
I
Quickie Mart
do.
on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
With Bart Simpson. Yeah,
So great.
it is. I love this shirt. Uh, and then the last one
Category 3. Okay, so this is category 4 then.
in category 4. Give me 1 second. I need to move my entire hall to show the book.
Oh, we're gonna get Hull tonight. Nice.
Yes, Treehouse of Horror. So this is category 4. It is just for fun category. It's either it doesn't necessarily take place anywhere. It's just uh either the creator's version of the characters. It's a thing you can't put anywhere, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't go anywhere. It's just a fun story with characters that you already love or a world that you really want to go back into.
So I'd almost call that like the anthology category. Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not meant to fit somewhere. Maybe it makes sense with an official episode. Maybe it seems like a separate reality, but it doesn't really have like an official designation. It's just
No.
read this for fun.
Yeah. Ugh, and
Well, I
my
think it's interesting. You've created this taxonomy, right? And
Yeah.
the taxonomy, sometimes certain comic adaptations cross across multiple parts of that taxonomy. So if we look at the original Marvel Star Wars comics that started in 1977, they start with an official adaptation of the movie, and they do in fact adapt each movie officially. But then they also extend with what was at the time the ostensible official continuity of what happened between all the movies, since moved into legend status, no longer the current continuity, which then Marvel, recreated with their new Star Wars, which now is the new official in-between continuity. So that had both official adaptation, which is your category number 3, and continuity extension, which is category number 1. But now it has been moved into category number 2, which is alternate universe.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to say about, I overthink this, Peter overthinks this, but you don't have to. These are just books for fun. You want to keep going, like, these Xena books, I have several. They're by Vita Yala, they're by Valentine, Erica Schultz, and Meredith Finch. Do these fit anywhere in Xena, a show that I love and desperately wanted to come back? No, it doesn't matter that it doesn't go anywhere. It's just fun. And then there's some things like Conan where they're a bunch of different mess of things. Like these are the Marvel Conan books, all of them. Some of them follow their own new continuity. Some of them adapt older stories, and some of them are just their own anthology thing. Like, does it matter that all of them together don't make any sense, even though they're the same publisher, same time? No. Like,
well, Conan is a really interesting example because often the comics really do try to make very specific reference to the Robert E. Howard stuff by using characters from the Howard stuff, by professing to fit just before or after Howard stuff, or even, with what is that? I have it on my shelf. The Hour of the Dragon, or certain stories. What is the one? The Elephant is one of the other stories where it like professes to directly adapt something, but then none of even the classic Marvel Conan stuff like technically is
or the
in
Dark Horse
canon.
stuff.
with the Howard Conan. And so they're doing something really interesting right now with the current Titan comics where Jim Zub is writing them. They're fantastic, but they're doing like a multimedia event where he's writing a story that's also going to connect to a story in a novel. So, so it's crossing multiple mediums and the mediums attached. They do that with Doctor Who a lot of times, where like a lot of the Doctor Who stuff will have basically a multimedia crossover, whereas a point where like everything fits together in the comics, in the novels, in the TV show, you know,
and the audio,
and it all kind of tracks in the audiobooks. Yeah.
The audio story, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's recently with Doctor Who. That wasn't always the case. But yeah.
No, they've only done a couple of those like multimedia crossovers.
But Star Wars is a good example of that, where you know they're across different media and this new continuity is all supposed to like line up together. So it does occur sometimes, and then you have things like this Conan book by Busiek. You know, there's some chapters are adaptations of the books, and some of them are just his own takes, and some of them are adaptations of the original Marvel comics. And you're like, does it matter? Like, no, you know.
Well, it matters to me.
It matters a little that you can't, like, if you were shelving them, you couldn't classify this in 1, 2, 3, or 4. You know, it's all of them, and it's not. But nobody's gonna do that, you know. Like when you take out all the Marvel Conan books, I have them all together except the OHC because I have those with the OHCs. But yeah, you know, the tie-in books, they're also really fun. Highly recommend. Highly recommend this the basic stuff, even if it's not that huge. What were they called? Just
Colossal.
The Colossal
Conan? Yeah. Like, don't sweat if also about the formats. Don't sweat like if you know, make your own canon is basically what I say. Like, if you want the Jim Sub stuff to like fit in with the Busiek stuff, you know, you can do mental loopholes to fit there.
See, I have a very different approach, which I think explains why I'm so hostile to like alternate universe stuff in comic books, which is like when I fall in love with like a certain universe or a character, I want to read everything that's true about that character, whether it's a TV show or a movie or whatever. So if there's like a novel that is extends it and like adds to the depth of that character, I want to read that novel. But if it's a novel that doesn't have anything to do with it and might contradict something in the main universe, I'm like, well, why do I want that? It's not like I don't know how to explain it, but like if I like Wolverine, the idea of like, oh, there's a Wolverine podcast, I'm like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with Wolverine's actual story, right? So I like, maybe it's because I grew up Catholic. I don't know. I care about things that are canonicized,
I get it.
Canonical.
That's a bad example because a lot of Wolverine stories do contradict other official Wolverine.
Yeah,
stories.
well, even official Wolverine stories.
but
I tend to live in the official adaptation realm because I'm like, well, sometimes I just want to experience something in a different format, right? Sometimes it's fun to read a comics official adaptation. I love Ryan North's official adaptation of Slaughterhouse-5 by Kurt Vonnegut. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I think I got so much more from reading it in a visual medium, like a comic adaptation, than just reading the book. I think it's brilliant. But I have all those gem comics, and to me, that's interesting because it's almost like a amorphous fifth category in your taxonomy, which is a continuity that's been dead for so long that the alternate universe of it becomes the continuity. Yeah. Because nobody gives a crap about the original Gem cartoon continuity anymore. Well, it doesn't need to be extended. So Kelly Thompson's Gem became Gem, right? It's almost like, you know, when Netflix brought out the new She-Ra cartoon, it's like, well, no, it doesn't follow the original She-Ra continuity. Does anybody actually remember that? Let's just start again, right? So I think there is this kind of like dotted line, you know, where it's like, is it an alternate universe or is it the new official continuity? I would say the same thing about the new Thundercats books by Declan Shalvey at Dynamite, right? Like, they're not in continuity to the original cartoons. They're their own pretty boring, terrible continuity for Thundercats, which is the new boring, terrible status quo for Thundercats.
Yeah.
Same for, you know,
For the latter thing, I'll say you know, a lot of people get mad that some of these things don't follow the originals, and I'll say, you know, it doesn't really matter because you know, I lost my train of thought.
Well, Jess, where do you weigh in on this? Do you ever, in your mind, when you're enjoying one of these properties that is linked to another medium, do you taxonomize at all Are you making a rubric for where they fit, or are you just like Conan's got a sword? I love it.
Yeah, I think the perfect example of I like to just let the book wash over me, and I don't do a deep dive. I
Mhm.
just like to be on top of the sea and let the fun wash over me. I love Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes. This is one of the I absolutely love this one.
Oh.
It There is a ring that is so powerful that the Guardians banish it to a completely different dimension and universe, and it ends up on the Planet of the Apes universe. And
Mhm.
like at first, Cornelius is the one that gets it. It's so powerful, and it changes. And Sinestro is after it because,
Yeah.
of course, he wants the most powerful ring. So it brings the Green Lanterns to the Planet of the Apes, where uh, various Red Lanterns and Green Lanterns and Yellow Lanterns are all trying to deal with these talking apes. And um, and when Cornelius puts the ring on, he gets he gets a Green Lantern uniform on him right there.
Mhm.
This is just super fun,
That is
and
super
I
fun.
don't. I just love the fact that somebody. Again, we go back to that thing. It has no right to be this good. It is
Mhm.
so fun and so interesting and such a different mindset that it doesn't it nothing it doesn't bother me that it's either canon or not canon. It
Yeah.
just is, and you've just got something just amazing to see Sinestro on the Planet of the Apes, and it's a really well written story. I'm aware when I say it's believable, I am aware that these are made up stories, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it does make sense that this could happen. And you've got um,
Mhm.
Larfleeze is in there, and
Oh.
Detronicus and his cat, whatever I think what the cat's name is.
Yeah.
Um, but it's I just love this book.
Yeah.
And this is I think this is still available. This is the special comic book defense comic book defense fund
Mhm.
thing. Justin Jordan is wrote it, and that reminds me that I need to find out if he's going to be at Baltimore, because I should take this and get. Oh yeah, I should get him to sign it. But I don't know if he's going to be there. So yeah, I understand both your viewpoints, and they're completely valid because they work for both of you. But I don't I don't know. I don't dive that deep into whether anything makes sense or not.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
Whereas I don't, this is not like a yuck your yum kind of thing,
Yeah.
but I literally would never read that. I am physically incapable of reading that, because in my mind I'm like, so it's not the Planet of the Apes movie, and it's not the Green Lantern comic book, and it's never going to matter to me if I read more of either of those things. I'm like, I could go on a run. Like, why would I read that? But that's where I am as a reader. Like, I always want my reading to like count
Yeah.
in some way, which is not good. It's not healthy. It's not positive.
I mean,
But
it counts
that's
for
how I
you.
approach reading. If I can't say that it's going to matter to me at some point, I'm like, skip.
Well,
that
to go back
it
on,
matters to me because it's fun.
yeah, to
No,
go
I
back,
see. That's maybe I hate fun too much.
it looks like it. But to go back on the track of the train that I lost, it doesn't matter that it doesn't fit anywhere or that it's a new universe, because it doesn't take away the value of what you enjoyed before or that you're enjoying it now. Like
And I would
you,
probably put that in your fourth category, where it's like,
yeah,
it's an anthology. It doesn't matter how it fits. Maybe as it's written, it makes perfect sense with a certain issue of Green Lantern and a certain Planet of the Apes movie, but then
yeah,
it's ephemeral. Like, it made sense in that moment, but it's never going to link to that again, and nobody's ever going to acknowledge it again. So I would put that in your fourth category of like, it doesn't matter. There are no
yeah,
points.
yeah. But
It's just pure anthology.
But to that point, the contradictory thing is that I get mad when the official media goes out of its way to decanonize something that was happening like at the same time. Because Stranger Things did this, and I'm so mad. I sold all my Stranger Things
I
comics.
hate
Stranger
the
Things,
Stranger Things comics so much.
I enjoyed them up until the last season came out and they introduced a character that was called exactly the same thing. It was a character of a different gender, of a different race, just to go out of their way to say, no, this is like those ignore those comics. They don't make any sense. Like they went out of their way to like decanonize the comics. It just it broke my heart.
But you
Uh,
know, as I was thinking of my own taxonomy, because I was thinking about the Stranger
yeah,
Things comics and how much I truly despise every issue of them, I was
that's fine.
thinking about how it's almost its own category of like when there's adaptations, meaningless adaptations, where it's like, yeah, it links the episodes of the show, and then you read it, and like the thing that links the episodes of the show is it like explains how a tissue box moved from one end table to another, and it's like, now you know the secret of the movie. Everybody in the show was speculating it was a ghost, but it's because Will was sneezing a lot that day, and it's like. It's almost it's just like it's like the cotton candy
Yeah, yeah,
of adaptations. Like it sells because it's an adaptation and people are really excited and hungry for more of that thing,
yeah.
buy it, but then it's just so ephemeral. If a little drop of water hits it, it just dissolves entirely because there's like no there because
Mhm.
it is a cash grab, right? Like they can't afford to actually expand their story right now, but they want some form of media with a logo on it that they can sell, and so they do these between the raindrop stories that ultimately it's not even that they don't matter, there's just no story there. It's the saga of the tissue box.
Well, that's exactly what X-Men's doing right now, like with Rogue and all those retro stories. Like, oh, it's the story of that takes place between these two panels or these two pages or these two issues. Like, you know, just because some people are gonna have fun with them. I personally don't care enough to go back to that moment, but yeah, someone's gonna enjoy that the tissue box moved not because of a ghost, but because he was sneezing a lot.
Well, it's like, you know, and that's how they're keeping Claremont employed. And I read that recent Claremont, the
Yeah.
Madripoor Night story, which like professes to be the story that comes right after Uncanny X-Men 268, and it was decent, but it didn't, like, I don't know if it added any value to my love of Uncanny X-Men 268.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I never know what to feel about those kind of adaptations, not only within comics, but like, you know, when it's like, oh, the
Yeah.
secret untold story of blah, and then you read it and you're like, this didn't need to exist. Like, what did anybody get from this? It doesn't have the intrinsic quality that makes Stranger Things exciting because it's not allowed to play in the part of the Stranger Things world that makes Stranger Things exciting.
Hmm. Well, they did at one point, and then it doesn't matter anymore. It got stuck. It literally got stumped out, and it's fine when that happens by accident. But this just felt so on purpose.
So, Jess, what are the one we're going into immoral cash grabs now? What are some of your favorite adaptations that you made a list of for the show?
Well, this is one. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong is another.
Yes, a lot of apes.
So you want to see DC heroes fighting cinematic primates? That's
No,
your
no.
number
I
one
didn't. I
category.
didn't. I didn't know that I wanted to until I read it. Um,
I got a
and
different conclusion. It,
and it's a bunch. It's a bunch of crazy kaiju in this
yeah,
book. It's not just Godzilla and Kong. I mean, there's just multiple kaiju's, and how they get there. The breaking in of the Fortress of Solitude, where Toyman steals
hmm
the wish machine and creates all this chaos, and should have actually, you know, got something more valuable, but it creates all this craziness, and it was just, I just really enjoy. And one thing I like about these, since they're not canon, same with like deceased, although that's not a licensed property, but I like the things that are like the oversized black label books, where like Suicide Squad Blaze, where there are consequences for the characters. Like, spoiler alert, I'm not going to say who it is, but somebody, I mean, they take somebody that's a main character off the board in here permanently, Same thing with Suicide Squad, Blaze, and DC versus Vampires. Those kind of things. I like those other Elseworld type story, not Elseworld, but out of continuity books where they're able to actions have consequences, where there are real consequences for the heroes. They can be killed and taken off the board, and I think that's really interesting.
But isn't that like an interesting indictment of where we stand with kind of continuity comics in general right now? Is that there's no consequences so often in continuity stories, that if you want to read a story where somebody does change as a character, where somebody does grow, where somebody does die, like you have to read an adaptation of a comic into another comic. You know, it's part of the draw of the Ultimate Universe at Marvel right now. It's like everybody wanted this older Spider-Man who has kids and a family. We can't get it in the main Spider-Man comic, but we can get it if you read the Ultimate Universe. So it's kind of like, you know, Absolute Power is about to roll out all these Absolute books in the DC universe, where like the characters can be fundamentally different, and where I assume we're going to get to see them make tough choices that are going to fundamentally alter their world in a way that they're not allowed to, right?
Yeah, and not just consequences, like Nancy Drew by Kelly Thompson and
an amazing adaptation.
Amazing adaptation, but not, you know, it's taking a character, Nancy Drew, and putting her in a different environment, in a more mature environment. And you know,
there's
sometimes
drugs in that book.
And sometimes
there are no drugs in the Nancy Drew books that I read in the 80s.
Yeah,
I need to read that right away.
Yeah, it's really good. You know, sometimes that's the draw. It's not necessarily like, oh, you know, characters can die here that they won't die in the show, the comic, or the movie. It's like, you know, sometimes you put them in a situation that you didn't expect, and that's just the worthwhile nature of it, you know. Okay, so going through that, you want to go for my haul, or do you want to keep talking about the topic?
Oh no, this is fine. I just want to catch up a little bit. People are, the blank card is for me to draw anything that I want on it. Okay. That's cool. Doug is recommending Calvin and Hobbes to Jaggernaut. I'm glad that you feel the community love. Peter, he just got that book a couple of weeks ago.
Probably Superman, because that was versus the Clan, because that was the one.
Right.
And he said he had Black Cat.
And he says he has Black Cat.
Oh, maybe he meant that.
I can't believe Warren Weaver and I agree on something. We need to write that down right next to the time my wife said I was actually right about something. Those are two things that happen once every 75 years. Deadpool by Christopher Priest usually cheers me up. What?
Yeah, that's
when.
Right before Gail Simone.
Sorry?
It's a Deadpool, not Gwenpool.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
I know, but I don't know that I
remember that.
It happens after the Kelly run and before the Gail Simone run.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've read that. Now you have to redo your haul video. You have new ideas. Oh. Next, imagine to your earlier discussion, Krisis. One untried new X-Woman book I would love to see would be a sharp and deeply psychedelic Stepford Cuckoo series. Sign me up for that. I would like.
Lansing and Kelly are doing cool stuff with the Cuckoos and NYX. So even though it's not a Cuckoo series,
good.
Maybe we will get a little bit of our wish there. Yeah, a lot of the women are being put forward in a lot of these books. Thinking about it, like there's not a lot of major male characters in a lot of these books, which kind of drives a lot of the rumors about what they're going to do with the X-Men in the MCU, is that it's going to be very focused on some of the women characters. So
they're the best.
One of those like brain trust early tie-in things.
You know, it's called men, but the best part of X-Men has always been the women.
As Adam Reck, co-host of the Battle of the Atom podcast, has a famous illustration of Jubilee holding up like a placard that says all the best X-Men are women, and I do agree. Most of the male X-Men are quite boring.
100% agree.
It's about time.
Oh, here's my buddy Tony from Sweden. Amazing stuff. Now my trading card set I sent to Jess digitally feels redundant.
Oh,
he did send me some trading cards. Really? You could rework them, Tony. Those were pretty. Yeah, the the ones James did are pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was designing some like right before. Like I don't know if you even opened that if you opened that Excel file I sent you.
You sent me an Excel file.
Yeah, that I was designing the trading cards. It's fine.
I'm sure.
James
Oh, did you
really
send
knocked it
it
out of
in
the
the
park.
email?
Yeah, for email.
Okay, I have it. Yeah. Elvis has asked this question a couple times. What are you guys' thoughts on the comic adaptations of the Star Wars Thrawn trilogy novels?
Haven't read them.
I haven't read them. It's interesting though because there were original adaptations which have since been collected
Mm-hmm.
in the Legends Epic line, but then recently there was a new fits into the current extended universe adaptation of the Thrawn novels that I believe the Jody Hauser, adapter of those Stranger Things comics,
Mm-hmm.
was partnered with the original author, whose name is escaping me right now, on the more recent comic adaptation. Timothy Zahn.
I think
Oh
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And side note on Timothy Zahn, he also worked on Rebels when they introduced Thrawn there, and he has a good relationship with them. So I don't know if he was maybe involved with Ahsoka as a consultant. That wouldn't surprise me.
Mhm.
Yeah, they did. Mike Grell did announce a Warlord Omni, and it sounds. I had not read Warlord, but it sounded really good to me. The description of it.
Well, we went crazy on the DC poll this year. Like it was in the top 20. People were so excited for it, and I had never even really heard about it before the poll. So I'm like hyped for it. But is it
Yeah,
going to be from DC, or does he technically own that character? DC has published other Warlord comics, but they're almost always written by Grell. So is it going to be a DC omnibus or just a
that's
self-pub?
a good question. I don't know that it was DC, but I don't know a thing about it. I know that's a book that Doug and Larry's Library. Those guys.
Yeah, Larry loves it.
Yeah, Larry loves
Yeah.
that one.
I think it is owned by DC because he
Okay.
appeared in Justice League Unlimited. That's my knowledge of Warlord. He was in
Oh, well then he must
in
be.
Justice League. Yeah.
I ran into it when I did the overview of from Titan. Does exist. Frost Giant's Daughter was reprinted in this once, and in Savage Sword, it was reprinted twice. So you cannot miss the Frost Giant's Daughter. It is well represented in these books. This was going to be one of the ones that I really liked as far as a comic adaptation. And it probably sounds pretty obvious, but so now what category would something like the Crimson Cage fit in? It's a what? It's a
Yeah,
retelling.
this was one of Bunkmaster's picks on the Library Evergreen stream.
Oh, this sounds like a bunk book.
Yeah, I'll say it fits in the anthology section.
Right, but it is a direct retelling of Macbeth. It just happens to be as a wrestling Macbeth. So it's a direct adaptation just to the side.
Yeah, but that's exactly where I put something like Romeo plus Juliet. You know, it's taking the story but putting it in a different context. So it's not the original story, but it's
True.
super close that you don't need to go back to it.
You know, in thinking about adaptations when we first brought this up, the thing that immediately jumped to mind, possibly because Omar just interviewed him this weekend on Very Fine Condition, was Larry Hama's G.I. Joe. Because, and also something I've explained at dinner recently, because G.I. Joe, I mean, it was a toy, and, you know, the Barbie-sized G.I. Joes were a toy in the 70s. Then G.I. Joe, the little 3 3/4 inch figures, became a toy in the 80s. But then, and it had a cartoon, which had a movie, which I love. But Larry Hama's comic book version didn't necessarily fit in perfectly with the cartoon, but it ran for so long and it was so nuanced that it was one of those times where it kind of like became the official version of the story in a way. And I really like adaptations that work like that, where they start as a sideline thing, but they become so popular or they gain such a life of their own that it becomes kind of its own official version, separate from the official version. I would put the Conan comics, the original Marvel Conan comics that Jess was just showing off, I would put them in that category, right? Because like, did they perfectly fit in with the Robert E. Howard novels? No. Sometimes they're adaptations, sometimes they're continuations, sometimes there's something different entirely. But there's over 300 issues of it. Like it's its own thing. You don't, you know, so you can kind of swim in that continuity, in that universe, regardless of if you're ever going to read the Howard novels. And I love when adaptations do that, when they become so self-assured, so all-encompassing, so enduring that the adaptation actually becomes its own separate continuity that's just as official as the original. That's my favorite kind. I love continuity. I love ongoing stories. I love serialization. So my favorite kind of adaptation is one with a life of its own.
Yeah, but Nancy Drew is a good example of a new universe that was not meant to be, because this got canceled, unfortunately, in a cliffhanger.
I know. I wish it kept going.
Like this could have been its own, you know, like Gem. This Nancy Drew could have expanded so much, but oh well, you know.
I just want to see that Dom is here. Dom, did you
show him his trading card?
You aware that you have James made a set of Batter Days in the Batcave trading cards, and you are represented there, my friend. Dom of X, very fine condition project manager. Direct quote, comic releases is amazing. Yeah, you're represented there, Dom. It's a pretty high compliment. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's sold out. Oh, dear.
Oh, but maybe there's a different
version. Here it is. Here it is. You haven't missed it. CNSSS says, I agree with Krisis. I highly prefer continuity and mostly stick to that. After all, we're not savages.
Well, I think, you know, despite me saying that I hate fun, I think the thing for me is I get so obsessed with media that's good that I want to get like lost in it. I want to experience it forever. I want to dissect all the nuances. So like everything I love, I want it to go on forever, right? Like I love that Willow TV series on Disney Plus that they took off of Disney Plus. Guess what? I just bought a bootleg, I bought a pirated DVD of it because I wanted to be able to watch it again, and there's no official version. I would have taken 100 years of that series. I thought it was so clever, so great. I just wanted to live inside of it. So I think that's why I can be like so anti these sideline universes and like sideline adaptations sometimes, because I'm like, well, there's an end in sight. Like if I loved that Green Lantern Planet of the Apes book, like that's all there is. There's nothing else that can like sate my hunger for how great it was unless they do a sequel to it. So I think I like try to protect myself and my willingness to love good things by trying to only stick to things that are going to just go on and on and on. But so I think really I'm doing it to protect my heart.
But to that point, I was going to say that sometimes they do get expanded. Like the Batman Adventures stories was supposed to be just like 5 or 6 issues, and then, you know, we have 2 omnis, and it could we have 2, and it could keep going. There's so much. Like I'll show you.
Look at Batman 66 or Superman, what is it, 78, 79, or Batman 89, right? Like they all started as like one-off comic books, but like they were really popular and good, and now they're their own thing.
Like these are just all stories, and you know, it's not all of them. These are just all stories from the animated universe, and it's not collecting everything yet. You know, we have the Batman Beyond compendium, we have this Harley and Ivy, we have 2 Omnis. Omni 1.
They're so heavy they slowed down.
Omni 2.
There you go.
That Batman and Robin one is so great. I love that book.
Oh, they're all so great. Like all those stories from the little digest size that I showed you, they're all so much fun.
And I think that's my official position, right? Like, it's not that I hate fun. I want everything to go on forever. Everything good should last forever. So that's my actual position on adaptations.
Well, I was going to say something else kept going after. Batman and TMNT. You know, we got 3 of them.
Yeah, they kept making more because it was popular.
And then they crossed over the cartoons that were running at the time because people really liked it.
Yeah.
Like, there is no end to this. Look at this.
Ooh, I like that Batgirl one.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Adaptations.
You want to see a haul now?
Sure.
Okay, so more Zatanna and the Ripper. This is
Oh, we just want to. I just
Webtoon.
want to acknowledge this. Thank you,
No
Matt.
reason.
I appreciate that. That's I genuinely appreciate that. Okay, what did
And
you have? So
you have your
important.
own action figure.
I do.
See,
It's in the other room now.
now you have trading cards and an action figure. Just look
I
at
do.
you.
I do.
Like screw Omar with his 100K followers. Does he have does he have does he have an action figure? Does he have trading cards? No.
No.
No. Vixen, right? See, so I'm getting all these
You're
Webtoons
all in
things.
on all the webtoons. You're really
Yeah.
into the webtoons.
What
Getting a bunch
what's
of
the
them.
latest issue? I mean, I'm sorry. What's the latest book for Zatanna and the Ripper?
Oh, I think it was the third one.
Okay, it's just up to 3 right now. Yeah, I have 3 of them.
Yes, 3.
Ooh, okay. You keep hauling, but I have one more adaptation on my shelf that I want to show and talk about.
Oh, I could keep going. I have so many.
Yeah, I'll
More-
unearth it while you talk.
More Batman. Let's see. Oh, I got all of the Asian DCs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
Bruce
got
Green has
Visual
really recommended those. He said they're really, really good.
and Spirit World. Yeah, they all look super good. I've been wanting them a while. Something more recent. Batman.
Oh, I wonder how that is.
Yeah, it's by Christian Ward. He's done a lot of books now. You know, he wrote Bloodstained Teeth, and what was the other one? Machine Gun Wizards.
And you consider him a decent writer as well as artist? I know his art's great.
Oh, his art's phenomenal. That's why I bought this book.
Okay.
His writing's okay. I'm sure he could excel more, like with time. Maybe this is the book that does it. I don't know. Haven't read it yet. Avengers Volume 5. So this is where my Avenging by Aaron finishes because I have the paperbacks. Excellent Volume 2.
Oh yeah, I need to read that.
This is a just recommendation. I need to find the others. Let's see. I Am Iron Man. Max really loved this, so let's
Who's
see.
the new writer of the Storm ongoing? It's a very
Yeah.
unusual book. It's very fun. Very, very strange. Not your typical Iron Man book.
Unstoppable Doom
Oh,
Patrol.
Booster recommended that to me too. I need to read that.
GODS.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's one of the worst comics I've ever read.
Let's see. 'Cause
I sometimes
it's
sometimes
alternate
people,
version of Strange and alternate Clea. That's what this book is. Keep going.
sort of, but Strange is in it too. People think I do this as a bit. They think I do it as a bit with like music too, but I literally, you could isolate me from the internet and not even tell me who the creators of something was, because I've done this many times, and I'll read it and I'll be like, that was the worst thing ever committed to page. And then I like realize it's by Jonathan Hickman and Skeety, and then everybody on the internet loves it, and it's like a 9.9 on Comic Book Roundup, and I literally, my notes are like 0.5 out of 5 worst comic I've read this year. I have an ability to hate things free of context. I totally do.
It's fine, you know. Sometimes your faves won't hit it out of the park, or sometimes they just won't do it for you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But it's just I wish I could get to the core of like what is my metric for what makes something good that makes me like hate God so much. It just made me angry. Just so angry as I was reading it. I'm like, what is that about me that like 99 out of 100 people don't have? I don't know.
I don't know. I'll find out when I read it. I've been waiting a long time, and I thought they were gonna do a gallery edition. So maybe if I hate it, I won't feel so bad that I didn't splurge on a huge.
You'll probably
edition
like
of
it. 99 out of 100 people enjoy it.
Yeah. So my friend sent me some single issues, Marvel Pride from 2023. This is a variant that I wanted and couldn't find because it has Angela. That's why I wanted it.
Love Angela.
And to that extent, he sent me some things that are hate-filled. This is hate. This is just
See, watch, will be something I like. Let's see. What is it?
Marauders by Steve
Oh, no, that-
Orlando. Sent me 3
Unreadable.
issues. And this is him hating me. I don't know what I did. This is some revenge plot. This is something. I sent you 1 good thing, so now I gotta send you 3 bad things. Even this Peach Momoko cover is tainted. It's tainted by the Orlando-ness of it all. Uh, I went I went to the comic book store and I bought 2 single issues. Can you believe it? I bought I Like Popeye because we were talking about this in our
I have
chat.
heard so much
It's
amazing stuff
it's
about this
amazing.
comic book.
I'll show you
I'm
guys the page that Peter sent me to buy it. It's this page right here.
Let me highlight you real quick.
Yeah, this page made me want to go buy it immediately. Look at that. It is exactly what it looks like. This is Popeye as One Punch Man. That's it. Like I wish I could tell you there's more. The only difference to One Punch Man is that he has a girlfriend. But it's exactly like reading One Punch Man, and I am
looks
not
so
mad
cool.
about it. It's
I
so
meant
good.
to read it for the stream today, actually, so I'm happy you physically have it.
Yeah, it's so good. Like I'm not gonna get the other ones, but yeah, I
So is it an
definitely want to get it.
ongoing? What is
It's
it?
an
Who
ongoing.
publishes
Yeah.
it? Who made it? I don't know any of the lore. What is it?
Let me show you They have the other covers here, the variants in the first page. Yeah. Okay. So, it's by Massive Studios. This is for the Popeye 95th anniversary. 95 years strong. It says. It's by Marcus Williams. Colors by Rodney Vetchell, and I guess he must have done the lettering himself too, because it says story and art by Marcus Williams. And interestingly enough, it doesn't say colors; it says other colors. So he probably colored a lot of it himself too. And it is phenomenal. Oh my gosh, this is Popeye as an anime, and I'm not mad. It looks so good. So I bought this, and I bought Avengers Aliens.
Oh man, talk about, isn't that in a way what got us on this adaptations thread of conversation? Like
Yeah, I think both of you guys were talking about how much you like this series.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so what a first issue. Just knocked me on my ass.
I'm trying to think what I can show you from the last bit. Oh, okay, this. So
spoilers.
I'm not gonna really spoil anything. I'm just gonna show you out of context something, and you fill it out in your head or you read it. Those are the 2 options you have. I'm not gonna tell you much about this, except it was a good. I read the last few pages because it was on Twitter, and I said I have to buy this, and we were talking this in the group chat, like both these titles, and that's what got us to this topic. So this right here, it shows this little alien and what happens with Miles. That's it. What occurs, I don't know. You gotta read it, man. It's so good. Miles is one of my favorite characters, so so yeah, the last few things are all on this topic. The Last of the Mohicans, because I'm getting these Marvel Illustrated books. Yeah, they're mostly by Roy Thomas. This one isn't. This one is by James Fenimore. I did not open it, so it has basically the same art style as the other books in this line. Not bad. Let's see. I got Beware, Planet of the Apes, because I got the first one. That was also by Mark Guggenheim. I liked it enough to revisit whatever he followed it up with. So one of my best friends is really into Godzilla, so I got Here There Be Dragons. This one is the one that Gio recommended.
Uh-huh.
I got Godzilla Monster Island. This is so cute.
Why does he look so cute? He looks like a Miyazaki.
They're going to summer camp.
Yeah, this one, because this isn't Godzilla. I'll tell you this right now. They knew their audience because they made this little cute kaiju story, and then when Godzilla does appear, it looks so out. It looks like a different book entirely because they knew that people would get mad if they didn't respect the design of Godzilla.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but Godzilla, I mean, that's an interesting topic for adaptations, like the rules around adaptations, adaptations that say certain characters can only speak a certain way or look a certain way. And Godzilla, even though there's many adaptations, crossovers, whatever, they have very specific brand rules. I think I recently read he's not allowed to eat people.
No.
It's just not a thing that Godzilla does. He's not a T-Rex. He doesn't eat people. Maybe in like some past movie he did at some point, but in the modern rules for him as IP, you're not allowed to do that.
No, and even when he bites people or whatever, it's clearly not him feeding. It's him doing it out of rage or anger or whatnot.
Right.
So you got to be very specific on how you get around those rules if you're trying to get around the rules. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch. This one is following, I believe, the first movie. This is by Greg Pak, but it's like your own continuity. If you wanted to follow the series or follow the second movie or follow whichever number of movie you can, so it's by Greg Pak. I'll look up the artist right now because it's so good. The design looks pretty much like the movie. Uh, there's a bunch of really fun covers. It's a fun little book. So yeah, my friend's also really into Stitch. So it's Godzilla and Stitch for him. It's a Julia Giacomino. And then the other one I got was it's a manga. This is Stitch and the Samurai. This isn't a continuation. This is an alternate story. It
Is it
literally
like
goes.
Stitch as Lone Wolf and Cub?
Well, that's what it started. Like that's what it kind of sells you, like the covers. But that's not what the story's about. Like, it's you won't believe that this is intense. So, it's an alternate events of the movie. Like it starts off exactly when Stitch is escaping from being captured, and he takes that red sports vehicle spaceship lot, and then instead of crash landing in Hawaii, he goes through time rift and crash lands in Edo, Japan, and he meets this incredibly intense warlord. Let me show you. Let me look up an image of him. He shows you. He lands with this incredibly intense warlord that is set
Right
on
back.
literally assassinating a bunch of civilians. He's about to commit a war crime, atrocities, and then he runs into Stitch crash landing, and suddenly the story takes the most unbelievable, cutest twist, and you have to read. Like, if you like Stitch, if anyone here likes Stitch, I'm telling you, you have to read this book. It is going to uplift your, it's gonna uplift you so hard. It's, oh my gosh, it's adorable. And then they also canonize um, G- um I'm forgetting their names. The two aliens, because they're very
That
much
are like
queer
hunting
coded.
him or chasing him?
Yeah, because they show up at some point, and they're very queer coded in the movie and the show, but they canonize it in this.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
very interesting. And the last one is Avatar.
Now, we're big Avatar Airbender fans of
Yeah, I
the
saw it in the
cartoon
chat.
and of Korra in this household. And in
Yeah.
the chat, someone was saying that the Avatar comics are all official. Like they all fit with the cartoon.
Yes. So the first writer for the comics was Gene Luen Yang, and it's a direct continuation. He's writing it essentially with the creators of the show, and then he leaves, and Faith Aaron Hick takes over. But
Wow, so the pedigree of the writers is
is
unbelievable.
it's enormous, and it basically tries to fill you in what happens, or putting the seeds to what happens between before you know the events of Korra. You know, so it's showing you the seeds of what will become Republic City, what's gonna happen to these countries, and what happens to these characters. Um, but it's so good, and it is a direct continuation, and they haven't done as many recently because they've announced Avatar Studios. They're doing more continuations. So instead of trying to like, oh, how can we release new things and keep it in what we're doing, to not accidentally stop continuity. Basically, they're doing little mini series now, and then the main story will be the movies. But from what's released already, my favorite one isn't the Avatar books themselves. It's the Korra
I
books.
love Korra. That cartoon to me, I know people grew up with Avatar and they love Avatar and it's for people of all ages. Avatar's fine. I like it. The kid loves it.
Yeah,
I think Korra is a masterpiece. I think it
I
is just such an amazing work of art.
I grew up with Avatar, and let me tell you, like, when Korra came out, it blew my mind because suddenly there's this angry, brash girl, and she's learning while she's doing it. She's not a monk that has the weight of the world launched to his
Well, I
shoulders.
also love that it's in kind of almost like a steampunk
Yes,
esque or like setting where there's more society. In Avatar, everything's so separated, and that's
yeah,
part of what makes the story so interesting, right? That like the tribes are all still really separated in the time of Avatar. But there's just something so much more appealing to me because we've long established I love stuff about bureaucracy, and so I love
yes,
the aspects of Korra that are about like who's allowed to be on the bending team, what what will the police investigate or not investigate. I love that stuff because I love fiction that plays with how people subvert this red tape that we can't actually cut through in real life.
And the one spoiler that I'll show is they do give us that moment that the show wasn't allowed to show us. Because the show ends with them holding hands, and they were clearly aiming to end with this moment. They weren't allowed to. Nickelodeon at that point.
Well,
And
you know,
oh,
two women holding hands on a Nickelodeon show is practically them playing Lunch by Billie Eilish. So
I was just thinking the same thing about
well,
the
that
song.
was 2014. We've progressed a lot since then. We now have actual LGBT relationships being shown. That wasn't the case when this came out. This and Adventure Time really pushed forward that. So this follows directly from when the show ends, and this Korra, the first one, Turf Wars, is actually written by the creators of the show. Like you can tell that Korra is so much their baby. They didn't allow anyone else to write it. They wrote it themselves. But my favorite one is obviously Ruins of the Empire because that's my gal right there, Kuvira. She's a war criminal. I'm gonna forgive her. Yeah. So they're both really good. All the Avatar books are really good. There's just one that I'll tell you to avoid if you wanted to get them because they're available not just in these library editions, they're available in complete collections, in paperback form. There's The Lost Adventures and what Tales of Team Avatar because those fit in wherever they do. You know, some weird nonsense like maybe they fit, maybe they don't. They're just a little fun story. That's not for Peter. But
you know, I thought of another kind of adaptation. I guess it kind of fits into your anthology bucket, but this is actually the second book that I have like this, which is it's a slipcase of all comic adaptations of Tori Amos's Little Earthquakes. There was an originally almost a decade ago something called Comic Book Tattoo, which was a lot of creators, including Jonathan Hickman, writing adaptations of Tori Amos songs, but not just necessarily the lyrics with illustrations, but telling stories that would fit in with the character of the song. And I think that that's a really interesting kind of adaptations because the songs, some Tori Amos songs tell a story, some of them are more abstract than that, and so it's not like it's a literal some of them are wind up being literal adaptations of the story in the song, some of them wind up just being a jumping off point, some of them are a story that happens that the song is playing in the background of and like adds context to. But for this one, you know, Little Earthquakes was kind of her debut. She had already had a debut album called Why Can't Tori Read that was like synth pop, but then she went and kind of rebooted and became Tori Amos. And this is by Z2 Comics. So Z2 Comics does a lot of these really nice square hardcover slipcase editions, and they do them for all sorts of musicians. It's like their specialty. The editor, who's a big Tori fan, and that's how I know who they are. I have to remind myself of the name. Rance A. Hosley, who's like very famous in comic and music circles, has all these great relationships with musical artists. And so if you follow Z2 Comics, and these things do show up in previews eventually, but Z2 also sells them directly from their website. And sometimes I like panic and I think they're not going to show up in previews, or I think that the special editions won't, because there was a smaller edition of this that was in previews. But this is the adaptation of the first song in that album, Crucify. And so as you can see, there are like all these kind of demons and fantastical figures. But it's just a whole comic book, a whole hardcover. There were no individual issues adapting each of the songs and some of the main kind of B-sides on this album into comic stories. And part of why I love Tori Amos is much like my love of many of the other things we've been talking about is I love that she's got her own mythology that's like never ending. There's so many B-sides, there's so many alternate versions, there's so many ways that certain songs link to other songs, and even in music, I love that. And it's something that I'm drawn to.
Yeah. I'll rush through some other things. Mars Attacks. This is by Kyle Starks. It does not follow the movie. This is based on the trading cards. He was not allowed to use the noise because that's apparently copyright by the movie. So that's a fun little thing of how adaptations can happen. Sometimes we get continuations like Young Justice, or if anyone remembers this, Star Versus, and they don't keep going. They don't sell well enough, and it breaks your heart when you have a Glow comic book and there's another one solicited and it never comes out, even though you want to revisit the world. It happens. Sometimes you have things like, "Ugh, these are all Adventure Time comics that I own. There are many, many more. I don't have them because I'm not a Ryan North fan. But
What? What?
yeah, that's my big
Hold
reveal
on.
right here.
Pause. Rewind.
Nah,
What? When did you decide you hated Ryan North?
I didn't say I hated. I said I'm not a fan. You know, you're allowed to like his little jokes at the end of every page. You're allowed to like his weird writing style. I'm not a fan. I've read a few pages of his Fantastic Four, even though I said I'm not gonna keep forcing North on me, and it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry. But this
We
this one's
all
an
are that.
interesting one.
Sometimes you're the 1%. Sometimes you're the 1% that doesn't like something. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's you.
And you want to. You're seeing people enjoy it. You see infinite amount of issues of Squirrel Girl, and you're like, "Oh, this looks fun. It's a teenage girl going to college. This is for me." No, I'm sorry. I tried. So this is Marcy and Simon. This one is the most standout for me of all the Adventure Time comics because this is a direct continuation of when the show ended. At the time, because now they've done a sequel series, and this has been placed as non-canon. But this was written by Olivia Olsen, who's the voice of Marceline, this character right here. So she loved the show so much that she wrote her own epilogue for the series, for the character, for her character, and for Simon, who's essentially the person who raised her. And this one doesn't have the best art per se. It's a lot more. It looks a lot less like the show than the other ones do that are very, very much faithful to it. But it's still a lot of fun. And it's interesting to see a writer so into the book. Like this one right here. This one is actually the story is by a writer of the show, Ian Jones Quarley, who's he's the boyfriend of the creator of the show. So this one, of all the Steven Universe books, and there's also a few of them, this one's the most faithful to it. Everything else pretty much fits in if you wanted to. None of it actually contradicts Steven Universe itself, and this is probably the
Yeah, I
most
really like the
expensive
Steven Universe ongoing. Ooh, I didn't know that edition even existed. What is in that? Is it the whole
all
ongoing
one.
series?
It is the original miniseries plus the following three of the ongoing run.
Oh, but see,
This is
so it's not
probably
all in one. It's some in
no.
some in one.
I really wanted them to do a second one called All in Two and then All in Three. That would have been so much fun. But unfortunately, this one didn't sell that well. But now this might be the priciest book I own.
Oh,
Yeah, I
really?
was just having a conversation
Yeah.
with somebody about Steven Universe. They didn't really do too much good collected media of it. Like they didn't recollect the comics. Well, I have
They did.
all of those.
Yeah.
They and there's no like single Blu-ray set of all of Steven Universe. And here, actually in New Zealand, for a while there was no way to even stream it because the international rights just like didn't exist in New Zealand, and I had to
Oh,
like use a VPN and watch my Amazon America version that I had bought because there was no way to get it in New Zealand. And it's wild to me because Steven Universe fans are rabid.
they
Like
are.
they will pay any amount of money or do anything to get this stuff. And there's just like, but somehow they can't figure out how to sell it. And so there's no collected Blu-ray. There's no like compendium of all the comic books all in one. It's just wild to me for a property that has that kind of a fan base. But I guess maybe because it's like a younger fan base, or maybe it trends towards more towards buying digital stuff. But there's like not that much physical Steven Universe stuff. Like even I expected there to be more like Steven Universe toys, but I think
Yeah.
also that comes down to Rebecca Sugar not wanting to like mercilessly merchandise Steven
No.
Universe. So there were like
No.
Funko Pops and there were like little like kind of like keyring sized
Yeah.
toys. But I was always like, oh, like what these figures would be killer. But I think because they stayed away from the commercialization of it originally, it kind of like made the market dissipate. It dissipated the demand for
No.
like physical Steven Universe stuff.
I can tell you what that is actually, because I follow a lot of creators and for animated shows on Twitter, and one of the things they talk about a lot is that merchandising is something that they really want to do. They want to do comics like Steven Universe. Like look at all those comics that they sold so well. There's so many of them.
They're so
not
good
enough,
too.
not enough to do more hardcovers, but enough to do a bunch of different comics. But now the networks themselves don't want to do merchandising. They'd rather make no money than little money. That's the philosophy right now.
That's
You
so
know,
strange. Yeah.
and it's a stupid reasoning. It's basically what's happening in movies right now, where if they don't do a 100 or 200 million dollar budget movie, that makes $1 billion. They don't want to do a $35 million movie that's gonna make 175 million. They'd rather not make that amount of money than and it doesn't make sense. You're making money regardless, even if it's a little bit. It's still worth doing the product. It's worth giving it to the fans because it'll vitalize, it'll energize, it'll show everybody that it'll motivate them. It's kind of like uh Gravity Falls. Alex Hirsch, who's the creator of Gravity Falls, he said a bunch of things for the 10th anniversary of the show that he wanted to keep going, like do a new Gravity Falls, and Disney told him there's not enough fans, there's not a demand for it. But the show has always been in Disney Plus's top 10 most viewed for the US. It's in the top 10 and they're saying there's no demand to do it. And there's not a lot of merchandise for Gravity Falls, but when there is, because they never released the art book, but they released a book of Bill recently, and it's a top seller. So there's a lot of. I won't even say that it's silent demand. There's demand for these things, but the companies themselves, either because of algorithms or past experience, say that it's not going to make them as much money as they want to see. So they'd rather focus on something that will make them a lot more money, like Nickelodeon not doing. I'm not even sure what shows they have on right now, but not doing merchandise for any current thing that they have because they know that something about that an Invader Zim shirt will outsell it 10 times. Yeah.
I just want to answer a question here from Cheese. If you're still in the chat, Excellence not in the
No.
Madman Library Edition. All the Madman stuff is Mike Allred creator-owned property, and Excellent is a Marvel owned property that he did the art for.
Yeah, I've never read Ecstatic, so I'm very much excited to see what my opinions will be of Excellent.
Oh, you haven't read Ecstatics first?
No. 'Cause I
Gosh,
want to read those and then I'll go back.
I really love that book. Oh, and thank you, Chris, for the kind comment. We're going to have to wrap this up here shortly because not only does Peter have to be going, but I've been up since 4 a.m. and I am absolutely asleep in my cereal right now. So
I also popped up at 4 a.m. for no reason today, adding to the total skippable quality of this chapter of my book.
No, not at all.
Rodimus has been asking, he asked us last night on Omnibros, have you guys been reading Space Ghost at all? Rodimus really loves it.
I've heard some good stuff about it. There was a moment when I turned on Adult Swim and I saw Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and then I saw Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Yeah. And because of my incredibly perverse sense of humor, I quickly became an Aqua Teen Hunger Force person and not a Space Ghost person. So I don't really have like the love of either original Space Ghost or like newfangled parody Space Ghost. But I have heard very good things about the comic.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Space Ghost fan either. I'm more of a Harvey Birdman fan. But I watched one episode of what's it called? Jellystone? Yeah, Jellystone. They did an episode where it's basically a Comic Con and it has Space Ghost, and it is the best thing that I watched like that whole month. It's phenomenal. It's so hilarious. The rest of the show's garbage, but that one episode was really funny. Yeah, because I looked up, oh, there's a Jetsons episode. Maybe I'll like that too. No. But Adaptation, this is by Kelly Thompson. Powerpuff Girls is a new one. Yeah.
I like the foil cover.
Yeah, by Leonardo Romero. Shiny. And much to Jess's disbelief, this is the only Doctor Who that I own. It's the dance lot Twice Upon a Time. and I only own it because it's Dan Slott. This is something a lot of Doctor Who comics, interesting enough, could fit in continuity or could fit anywhere. This one does not. Dan Slott really wanted to do everything all at once, and it just made it impossible to put this anywhere between two episodes. But it's still a lot of fun. You know, you can tell he's really enjoying himself.
Let's see. Oh, Dom of Way Late. James is epic. The card is epic. I'm glad my intelligence on my card wasn't lower than 4. I'm glad that too.
Yeah.
Krisis is that one dentist out of 10 who doesn't recommend the toothpaste on a commercial.
No, I'm like, skip the dude toothpaste, get the Botox.
Reaper, Kia Ora, catch you on the replay. Love all your work. Jess, Freddie, and Peter, what is each of your favorite decade in comics? And fight the other two on why they're wrong. I just sent you an email, Reap. He gave me a list of things. He reads them in singles, and then he tells me what I should be collecting once they get collected. And so I saw a bunch of them were up today. So check your email there, Cobber. Favorite decade in comics? Whatever decade I've been reading them in. I'd say right now there's so much great stuff to be read. This is the real golden age right now. Everywhere I turn in my library, I can just stick my hand in a shelf and I'll pull out something great.
Yeah, that's true. There's so much good stuff right now. I'll say that the softest that makes the thing softest in my heart, the thing that will always be magical to me, is that era of Marvel now from 2011, 2012 to 2016, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was just basically nonstop bangers. Even though Squirrel Girl was there, it didn't ruin it for me.
You know, for me, I think I see comics as this never-ending cycle of, you know, like new techniques and form emerges, then they kind of get solidified, and there's that solidified period. Then there's the period where it all gets pushed too far, right? We get like things like the extreme 90s that took all of the extreme stuff that's happening at the late 80s and early 90s and pushed it too far. And then there's sort of like the disillusion and rebirth period where like all of that stuff fails and everybody scrambles, and then like new things start to become popular, right? So it's this constant cycle, and we could trace it all the way back to, you know, like when comics first started existing in the 30s, and sometimes it's influenced by outside factors like Frederick Wortham's Seduction of the Innocents kind of like forced a dissolution and rebirth because superhero comics and horror comics couldn't be made after the Comics Code was first installed. So I don't think of my favorite time in comics as a singular decade. I think about where it is in the cycle. And I really love the cycle, part of the cycle where the things are so established that they're like just ticking over to the extreme. Like, so I love like 92, 93. Things are starting to just get a little too violent. Like there's just a few too many chromium covers. You know, you can like feel it kind of like bubble. The pot is boiling over, but it hasn't really got to the point of like self-parody yet. And I think right now, I think in the late teens, comics kind of like really were boiling over to like everything was events, everything we, you know, and then I think the pandemic like really put a halt on some of that and kind of forced a dissolving phase. And so now we're seeing so many different things get tried at once. It's like throw everything at the wall. Some people are doing more YA comics. Some people are doing webtoons. DC is doing compact editions. We're getting foil covers back. We haven't had foil covers for like decades, right? So I think it's created this like weird cadence right now that it doesn't, talking about us loving rubrics and loving taxonomies, nothing about right now feels like it fits into a taxonomy. We're not in a, so I think what we're in is actually like one of those discovery phases. We're in one of those what's going to work, what's going to be real. Not my favorite phase generally. So it's kind of like, you know, the cycle of the rise of the phoenix, and it burns brightly and then it crumbles to ash and then it rises from the ashes again. I think we're in like a coming out of the ashes. So I'm not having a great time right now, but it doesn't mean there's not good comics to be read.
Okay, that's fair. But now I have a question for Krisis. So speaking of things going in between and in adaptations, how do you feel about the Rosa Duck books that are supposed to be in continuity with the Carl Bark stuff.
I'm just not a Disney person. They're
No?
ducks.
Oh,
I like pictures of ducks. Ducks are cute. There's ducks I see on my jog.
so you're not into what if Donald Duck was Thor? What if
No, I
Minnie
mean
Mouse
on my
was
rank,
Captain
there's like the
Marvel?
ducks that I see on my jog. Then there's the ducks at the
This
botanical
one?
garden.
Yeah.
Then there's
That's
the
cool
DuckTales
cover.
from the 80s. Like I just don't. I don't have a Disney bone in my body. Like people are like,
Mm.
oh, Mickey Mouse. I'm like, why? But that's just it's my age. When I grew up with Bugs Bunny. If we're talking about Daffy Duck, if we were talking about Daffy Duck gets the powers of the Infinity Gauntlet, because Daffy Duck is a prick.
Well,
Daffy Duck would be worse than Thanos and Uranus combined.
well, that is the potential that Multiverses has right now. The comics. I've never read a single page about it, but I saw the cover and it had Bugs Bunny right next to Batman, so anything could happen.
I mean that Tom King Elmer Fudd book was one of the best single issues of a comic.
Yeah.
Speaking of cash grabs can be good. I don't know. These I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Kristen's favorite. It's Rocco's Modern Life
Oh
and
yeah, Kristen loves Rocco.
Rocco's Modern Afterlife.
Mm.
If you dig the show, if you dig the Netflix movie, you'll like this. And I didn't bring them out, but the Invader Zim comics, the first 4 paperbacks, the first 2 deluxes, they're really, really great. They're by Jonan Vasquez, the creator. He left to do the movie, so afterwards the quality dips incredibly. But they're fun. Someone is lying to us saying AOA was the best era of comics. I'm not willing to fight Peter, but I am willing to fight the chat.
Okay, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up. Peter has things that he must do. I do too. Mostly swallow some pillow right now. Peter, where can they find you on the internet when you are organizing your spreadsheet life?
Well, my primary home on the internet is crushingkrisis.com, crushing with a C, crisis with a K. It's been my home on the internet since August 26th, 2000. So it's been around for over 24 years. And I'm currently in the behind the scenes process of making sure every single one of my 150 Marvel Comics guides is completely up to date to this month's releases. It's the first time that I'm going to have them all up to date at the same time in over half a decade. And right now, how far am I down the list? I'm currently in the L's. So I'm just about halfway, but I'm determined it's going to be done by the end of this month. So I have another 11 days to get the other 60 guides updated. And that's all to be found at crushingkrisis.com. And that section is called Crushing Comics, where I have guides to the Marvel Universe, much of the DC Universe, and some indie comics as well, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And Crushing's site is down below in the description. There's a link for it, and you can find me on the latest videos I put out yesterday. Titan Comics Heroic Signature sent me copies of Conan Volume 1 and Savage Sword Volume 1. And I did reviews and overviews for them. So if you'd like to check those out, see that these books are actually real. They are definitely out there now to be sold finally. And I haven't been doing much on Instagram. I need to get back on that. What about you, Freddie? Are you still posting on Instagram regularly?
Well, I dropped out during the summer because I was very busy. I kept reading, and I just didn't make the post about what I had read. So I've mostly caught up. I think I caught up, actually. Yeah, so my Instagram is here, right there, and on the chat. Thank you, James. It is also the Hispanic Heritage Month. It starts on September 15th. Why? Because, well, that's what they gave us. It ends on October 15th. So if you want to read some Hispanic books, yeah, I'm running out of steam as well. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is always so much fun. I really enjoy this. And thank you to my co-hosts for availing themselves to me to have them on the show. This is always a great time. Peace and love, and I will use my theme song to play us out. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the best medicine for me, is talking to these guys and talking to the chat. So peace and love.